Drain, do I
You're
put
not
an air
seeing that?
mattress? No, Really? Why is he leaving the room right now?
Good morning. Today is May 1st, 2024. Happy May Day. Time is now 9:02 a.m. I'm Kevin Day, Chair of the Custer County Board of Commissioners, and I will convene this meeting of the board. If you do have your cell phones, if you could please silence them at this time, Bill.
I already did. Planning ahead.
If you join us for the pledge, and Bill, could you do the invocation this morning? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all.
Please bless this meeting of the Custer County Board of Commissioners. Perfect among us brotherly love and understanding, strengthen us with wisdom, patience, and kindness and goodness. Save us from all error, ignorance, pride, and prejudice, so that we may solve all the perplexities and the problems and choices that come before us today. We ask for your blessing and love for all our citizens. Grant us the grace to ask what you would have us to do, and that the spirit of wisdom may save us from all false choices. That in your light we may see light. Please direct and sanctify and govern us as we work and gather today, as we convene this meeting and to the service of Custer County citizens. In the name of our Lord Jesus, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Day,
Present.
Commissioner Kanda,
Here.
Commissioner Epp,
Present.
County Attorney Dan Slater,
Here.
and Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Okay, and audience introductions. Mike, we'll start with you.
Mike Chesser.
Who are
Van
you?
Dorn.
I'm sorry, John.
Go ahead, sir.
Courtney Miller, I'm here for Beckwith Ranch.
Jim Shaplin.
Nadine Peterson.
All right, thank you. We have probably about 10 or 12 online. Do you want me to list those off or just tell you they're there?
Listen.
Lift them up.
Other than county stuff here, we have Cindy Howard, we have Darla Kenny Scholes, we have Debbie, Ellen Glover, James Gilbert, Jeff, John, Lee Overcamp, P. Marty, Susan, and Veronica. And if anyone goes to speak at a later time, if you could please identify yourself for the record. Any amendments to the agenda?
None from me.
None for me either, sir. I would like to add at the end of our new business or on additional items of business discussion of processes for this evening's meeting.
Thought that was on.
It is on here.
It's on
My mistake. I have none.
there.
I think when I thought of that, I was looking at previous copy of our agenda.
Yeah, that agenda's changed.
Okay, so I do not have any approval of the minutes for April 17th.
So I move that we approve the minutes of April 17th. The thing did good.
I would second that motion. I have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes for the April 17th BOCC meeting. Any discussion?
None for me.
Those in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain since I wasn't at that meeting.
Aye. That motion carries.
We could approve looking at them.
I approved looking at it.
Commissioner items, Commissioner,
So the bathroom's upstairs, been fixed, plumbing works, so. I don't have to go down to the bath, they don't have to go downstairs to go to the bathroom for those people that are up top, so. Still working on bids for Bertamont Tower. We do need to go out for bid on the roof, so we need to formalize that RFP process, so. But otherwise, we're starting to call around to see if we can get more than at least one person,
A bid on what?
bid on the roof.
On the
Or
roof,
the,
yeah.
so. Yeah. Cause that'll be over 20 grand, so. I'm sure. Yeah. If all of a sudden they come in underneath, we better grab it. Other than that.
possibly.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get what you pay for.
That's right.
So,
No, that's all I had.
plumbing issues, it's nice when both ends are meeting in the middle.
That's right.
Commissioner Kanda.
Okay, quick update on thin air communications and a TV antenna. Got the new bid for the remaining work.
Okay.
And speaking of Matt, and we've been doing some things, I'm gonna request that we get a meeting to help reduce some of the costs here. Because the total materials that they had to buy was $13,000 worth of stuff, which included, remember, they had to buy a new antenna because it was on the wrong frequency, it was the wrong antenna, it wouldn't work. And all the cabling
Was cracked up.
was cracked, so that included the 5-element display. Antenna and other things, and then the labor was another 14,000, so it's another 27,000 bucks. So which is about what we thought the estimate would be initially when we put the two bids together. It was going to run $50,000-$60,000. So it's coming in roughly what it is, but I think we can save about 6,000 bucks by having Matt get a tough shed and build our own little shed for it, as opposed to spending the 7,000 bucks on that cabinet. We think that might, I was going through that with him over that. Matter of fact, another option would be to use the same building we have and cut a deal and get whoever's borrowing it out of there. I forget who else is in there. Is it a ham operator or what is it up there?
I believe you have Hilltop in there.
Is it Hilltop that's part of that? I thought maybe.
One of the internet providers is in there, as well as there's 2 or 3.
Well, I'd imagine there's a bunch of old abandoned equipment that.
Well, so what we ought to do is, I'd like to get Matt and you and I go take a look at it and look at the options that we could have. And the simplest one would be to get a 5x5 tough shed. We could even foam it if we wanted to. He thinks it doesn't even need too much insulation, but you need to keep the mice out, the rats and stuff. That'll save quite a bit of money, I think, if we do it right. We can still pour a 5x5 concrete pad up there.
Then they wouldn't provide the cabinet.
No,
Cabinet
we can
costs
just,
would
we can
be
just get,
back toward-
that's right, toward
the other
redoing that and drop it down another 5,000-6,000 bucks in price.
I'd still need an AC unit in it.
Oh, yeah, it still has to have the air conditioner. And that, so it'll be an air conditioner, and if you said it generates enough heat, we don't have to put a heater in it.
Is there, so when, yeah, we should go look at that existing building. If the existing building has equipment in it, it's got an air conditioner, we'd be better up upgrading that air conditioner.
Maybe.
If there's room for.
That's the problem, is the amount of room, and they've got to mix, and then Matt can look at how to seal it up and keep everything out of it and insulate it if we have to, but.
I don't.
Plus,
think there's an AC unit in there.
But in the meantime, they will get it operational. So that channel will be working. We just don't want to get it too hot into the August timeframe. This is what I'm gonna watch. Try to get something done in air conditioning. We can even turn the air conditioner on in the building that it's in right now, if we want to. And get by with it. So we'll look at options, bring them back in.
At the present time, is it or is it not the two channels operational?
One's operational now already. It's been operating for the last month. Channel, it's KRDO, it's KKTV, channel 11, it has the bad end.
So it's the same now as what it
No.
was prior to, because 13 was coming through.
13, they lost both channels in the end.
Okay.
We didn't have the first, for about 6 months, no TV. So anyway, small amount of progress anyway.
Okay.
But we'll get together.
Let's do that.
That's the update that I have. The upper arc is going through their selection of a new director, was occurring this.
Oh,
It hasn't been announced yet.
but
No.
I was gonna ask you.
Anything else, sir?
Nope, not right now.
Road and Bridge met yesterday with Jeff Luthier from the Forest Service and one or two other gentlemen going over their road maintenance agreement. I had planned to be there. It did not make that meeting, so we will probably have that agreement coming before us.
Okay.
Jeff is working on that, so. That's all I have this morning. Okay, anything from you, sir?
Nope.
Kelly or
No.
Mike, anything from you, sir?
No, sir.
We have no unfinished business. First item of new business would be the Redlands Accounting and Advisory LLC report. Lisa.
Good morning.
There's Lisa.
Good morning.
You were waiting.
Good to see you
patiently in the
again.
wings, weren't you?
Yes, good morning. Good morning. Okay, so I'll update you where we are with the whole getting ready for the audit project. Last week I spoke to the auditor and introduced myself to him for some information from last year's audit so that we can work on some of the big government-wide areas
You
like
haven't met Sam
capital
before now?
assets. I haven't met him before. So he's going to provide me with some information so we can help out with capital asset stuff. If he's completed any lease stuff from 2022, then I'll get that from him. And then some of the long-term debt amortization schedules and things like that. I also asked him some other questions and have received information to help me with some of the other questions I had from him. He also sent a list of items that they'll need for this year's audit, so we can get to work on those. And one of his staff people have reached out to me and given me her contact information so that we can start supplying them with information like a trial balance budget, things like that. I've also worked through the funds. So each of the funds I've gone through and done a lot of test work to reclassify items and to do that cutoff work at the end of the year to make sure accounts payable and receivables are correct. And I've got about 91 entries that I've put together, and Vernon and I will work together this afternoon to get those all posted to CIC. And after that's done, then we can compare it to what I have in my test work and make sure that everything reconciles and that Vernon understands what we're posting. And Vernon's been very helpful in helping me find invoices. So as I've gone through, I've made lists of these are the invoices that I haven't been able to find in CIC or in the filing cabinet in the finance department. And he's been very helpful in going out and finding that information for me. So I really appreciate all the work he's done there. So that's where we stand. I think we have all the leases together.
Okay.
He's done a lot of work getting all that information together for me too, so.
And the journal entries that you're talking about, those are the ones that we used to do after we got the audit back.
Correct. So hopefully all of these will eliminate or severely decrease the amount of audit entries that you would have and be posting in September. So.
And we're still on schedule for, I know May 1st was our goal, which gave us a kind of a 2-week cushion. for Sam DiNardo, do we know, when we can use the basement for the audit heavily the next 2 weeks. Have we, and I talked to Brendan a little bit yesterday about when he was gonna send his team up or.
I think that, from what I understand, they're gonna start the audit remotely, which
Okay.
is very common now. The auditors can look at a lot of, most of the information is electronic that you can provide for them. They'll start that remotely, and I think as soon as we have the entries posted and agree on how the funds look, then we can provide them a trial balance,
Okay.
budget, any budget resolutions you did during the year. So we can start on that list and start giving them information right away,
Okay.
and then they can start working on that.
So it'd be a process.
Yeah.
Starting and working through it together to.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think their plan was to start out at the office, get as much as they could done, and then set up a time to come up here and look at anything that they needed to do here.
Yeah, which keeps it cheaper for us anyway. More
Yeah.
reasonable, I should say.
Yeah, and so we can provide them with things like the lists of accounts payable. I've got that together and I'll go through that and review it one more time.
Okay.
And accounts receivable, we should have that for them too, so that they're not going out and creating those lists. They're already created and they're able to just test them.
Okay.
Which makes the audit much more efficient, so.
Right. So next,
Go ahead, finish your thought.
So the next project, we've talked about this a little bit, but next project would be going into, getting UMB straightened out, going through January, February, and March, and starting there so that we can do a quarterly budget review, May 22nd through in a workshop. But it would be reconciling cash, payroll, all that, January, February, March, and then just start working through those months. I'm getting through there, finishing up any of the audit stuff that we need to finish up to get to Sam DiNardo. So roughly the middle of July, he's going probably the 3rd week in July, he'll give his presentation on the audit to us. So then we can turn around and we can send it up to the state, meet the July 31st deadline. So.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about couple things.
Okay,
On the goal, we have a goal to get, you mentioned it. And I think it's good if we get written down somewhere where you know what we're turning in, when, and what you're working on, just we can pull up or something. I take notes, but then it changes a little bit because things happen. You mentioned Sam is working on leases. You were gonna get something from him. He's working on stuff in a way that keeps him independent, right? What is he doing?
I think so. So what I need to know from him is, does he have some schedule he's already put together for the 22 leases? So I know that you guys had provided him with information for the 2022 leases and some of those before. If he had any kind of schedule he's already put together, then I just asked him to send that along to me
Okay,
so
so
that
he's
I
not
can
doing-
just
so we're not
take
doing
over what
that.
he's done. So
Okay.
you're not
He's not-
duplicating work.
Yeah, so he puts the schedules together, but the journal entries are what we put together.
Right.
So he's not physically in the books. He put the lease schedule together. It's
knows
up
what he's
to
wanting.
us to put it in the books.
Right. Make
Right.
that clear. That's one thing.
And really what keeps the auditor independent too, because often, especially with the governmental agencies, the auditor ends up doing things like
Yeah.
updating depreciation and things like that. What really keeps them independent is having somebody who can review their work too and
That's
say,
right.
we can take responsibility for this and we think it's correct.
All right, so it'd be good to have these interim goals and things like when are we
Yes.
doing a UMB, when are we doing Kirkpatrick? So there were a lot of other findings. I know we're gonna beat. The goal we're gonna beat is we're gonna submit a report this year.
Right.
On time. And
Right.
not late, because we can't get past, what is it, the end of July or the 1st of
July 31st.
July 31st.
We have to send it to the state.
That way, there's no penalty for us screwing up twice.
Right,
But there are other things that were in the findings
Right.
that we had to fix. Some have been fixed, maybe, some haven't. Some we will. The credit cards is one of them.
right.
Is that a significant hit if we don't round it, other than the fact that we don't know what our credit card really is? We don't really know what our real balance is. Except that I think you said, Lucas, it's not hundreds of thousands of dollars, we think, but it might be tens of thousands or hundreds.
So credit cards have all been paid.
Yep.
Whether the money came out of the right account.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah.
is still to be determined, especially with.
Right, I know, let me rephrase it. I know we paid our bills. We're
Right.
Not delinquent.
Right, right. And we're
But
not
we
paying
don't
interest.
know until we reconcile everything, what our real balance is. Truly, it might be off by $100, it might be off by 2,000 or 3,000 or whatever it is. I get a lot of I keep getting questions. I know you do too. Do we really, are we?
And I think that's attributing, the problem there, I think is, and tell me if I'm wrong, attributing the expenses to the right buckets.
Right,
So it's like a reclassification. So bottom line, you should be accurate on your books, but things got posted to.
But that's
The wrong
assuming you've got
accounts and
all
you-
the receipts that.
Right, and you also want to make sure that there's support for all those expenses.
That's right, that's what.
In there.
And that's, I think we're.
And
kinda
that's,
hanging out on.
yeah,
Okay, so we're not worried about getting another finding that's
so there's no finding on the credit cards
Right.
themselves per
just the fact that we,
say.
right. But I'm worried about it, another, ding because we didn't pay attention to things that have been hanging on for years and years. and
right.
years.
And I think a lot of the findings are associated with the number of entries and the work that the auditor has to do at the end of the year. So a lot of the findings have to do with information not being reconciled throughout the year. So then the auditor has to come in and fix it. And your findings are, those material weaknesses are basically saying you don't have any processes in place, or you're not doing the activities necessary to prevent the financial statements from being materially misstated, because we had to come in and do all these adjustments.
So we're not in danger of a qualified. opinion,
Hopefully,
because-
no. If you
That's-
have all
that's
the
the big-
information to provide to the auditor, then you shouldn't have a qualified opinion. Missing information is what will get you a qualified
I know, and
opinion.
that's what I'm worried about,
Yeah.
on receipts.
And as I've gone through, I've paid special attention to the visa payments in particular, and looked to see if there's support, and have provided lists to Vernon, and he's been tracking those down too. He's done a good job of tracking down a lot of that.
And then there must be a way of, like you do in most accounts. You can't find the receipts, and then you've got to figure out how to write it off, basically, or it's gonna start with a new balance.
You've got to
And
find,
then that has to be agreed to at some point by the state, or by the auditor.
so what an auditor would generally do if you don't have support for balances is consider the materiality. So if you're missing 5 receipts for the year, 5, receipts supporting some credit card bill, then that might be a finding, but it wouldn't necessarily qualify the opinion.
Okay.
It's if you have some material amount of receipts or invoices that you're unable to support balances, then you get a qualified opinion, because the auditor's unable to say, was this county business? Was it for a
that's
legitimate
the-
expense?
yeah.
So hopefully we're going through and identifying the material items, making sure that there's support for those.
They're looking hard.
Mhm.
Good.
Yeah.
That covers it.
Yeah. And then going forward, if you're reconciling throughout the year, then that takes care of a lot of those findings too.
That's what I was hoping we're gonna do. some
And
of that.
hopefully, if they don't have a lot of adjustments this year, then it should cut down on some of your findings as well.
Okay, good.
And then our entries that we're sitting at around 90 right now, those should go down as we're reconciling monthly as well.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
entering correctly our debits and our expenses all the way through each month, each year. And then when we're turning the clock January 1st, 2024, and we're trying to close out, we're just closing out the last 3 months, the last 2 months, the last month. We're not trying to close out a whole year's worth of either DHS vouchers, or the fair board, brings all their stuff, and now we're reconciling that back through all the months that we've got. We're doing it on a month-to-month basis, so
Mhm. Yeah.
thank you.
Yes, and that identifies problems early too. If you're having a problem with one department or one individual not uploading their invoices, then you identify that quickly. If you're doing that on a monthly basis, if you're closing everything and have a process in place, then you identify those things early. So,
And we're working on getting the credit card company, and they're able to do it. Just need to sit down and get
where if they have an expense with a credit card, their receipt uploads into the credit card program and they have to upload it into CIC. So in case for some reason CIC, it disappears in CIC, we still have the backup copy inside the credit card company. So it's dual entry. We're entering it into your credit card and it shows it, and we can go in, the finance department can go in and they can go, hey, this has been checked. There's this expense. It turns green, comes with a check mark as soon as the receipt is uploaded. So we can monitor that very easily. And then that whoever's made those credits will also have to come over here and do it within CIC for the voucher to pay for, and we can keep up on it better than what we have. So we're working on through that
Okay,
too.
so speaking of CIC, seems to me that there was a concern at one time that not everybody was making the entries correctly. Yeah, are they all trained up?
So we've had a lot more training and we're gonna continue to do more and more training. And now that we have Vernon and Jen both trained up on it, we can help out some of those other departments better because our finance department's trained up better. So, okay, good.
All right, thanks.
All
I
right,
know,
thank you.
Vernon reached back to me yesterday in regards to those 2 mini grants. He said he was gonna look for that information. If not, I was going to look for that. Do you know if he by chance found that yesterday?
I think he did find that.
Okay.
I think he did.
If not, if one of the two of you could let me know that and I will assist with that
Okay,
next.
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Lisa, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, no. Yeah. Okay, if not, I've got those. Next item up on our, agenda would be the approval of the accounts payable.
The weird one that I saw in there was $6,200 for the Humane Society for boarding houses, and we got horses. Houses?
Not boarding houses, but boarding horses.
We do need some boarding houses, but these are.
Okay,
Did that-
anyway,
did that-
$6,200 was
I
spent.
know it's exciting.
The Humane Society, and that was the one that really piqued my interest, but we got $6,200 deposited, so it's just a pass through. So otherwise, the majority of all of it is payroll.
Yeah, I didn't see.
Okay. Anything else from you?
Nothing.
Okay. Yes, I'm glad you saw that. I told you did not catch that one. So thank you for that. I would entertain a motion. We have no other.
I'll make a motion to approve the AP in the amount of $378,133.11.
All second.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to approve the accounts payable in the sum of $378,133.11. Further discussion,
None for me, sir.
There you go.
public comment.
8 cents. Yeah. Okay.
Nothing online, nothing here. Those in favor of approving the accounts payable in the sum stated?
Aye. Did you say aye?
I did not, but that was applied.
Sounds like you were going to.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. We do have consideration of the special events permit for the Friends of the Beckwith Ranch.
So I have an application here from Friends of Beckwith Ranch for their event that they're holding out there June 1st.
Did they submit
Are-
any samples? I'd like to sample.
Maybe next time I'll find that one out, say that's part
They,
of it.
they
yeah.
didn't show us the menu.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Uh,
can we get a temporary permit for the building here?
No.
No.
Anyway, he has submitted his application, his map, certificate of good standing from Secretary of State's office, their deed, all the documentation, the $10 fee, county fee, and $10 state fee. And Mr. Miller is present if you guys have any questions about his event. And that's pretty much it.
So it looked like it's only for fermented malt beverage,
Yes, just beer,
just beer.
Just beer.
And those serving will be over 18.
yes. And they are tip certified, I guess. is the
Okay.
proper term.
Okay.
I think they call that in the paperwork.
Qualified to take a test.
Did you have that? Oh, it's right there. Okay. I was wondering why I didn't see it here.
Yeah.
Would you like to speak to that since you're here, sir? Anything you'd like to say?
Well, this is the first time we've done this. We did the Rotary, club sponsored an event last year and served beer, and it was very, lucrative. And so we were gonna try it for our roundup and see if it would help us raise more money.
But I appreciate the control that you've got down here with posse checking and I know they usually serve at that event. Yeah, so I just appreciate you watching out for our citizens, so.
Well, we want it to be a family event, so serving beer, I'm a little reluctant, but still, as you say, we've got a lot of good control. It was the place is isolated. You really can't vacate the grounds except by going out that one exit.
Yeah, correct.
So I think it will be safe.
Well, thank you.
Well, I move we accept the application for the Beckwith Special Events Permit.
I'll second.
Approve the
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to approve the special events permit for the Friends of the Beckwith Ranch. Further discussion here at the table.
None from me, sir.
Okay. Public comment. None online, none here. Those in favor of approving the special events permit for the Friends of the Beckwith Ranch, signify by saying
aye.
aye. Aye. That motion carries.
There's his. Right underneath where I printed BOCC chair there, is your
Okay.
signature. And so I'll get this sent to the state, today.
Okay.
And then usually on special event permits, it does not take them that long. So, probably within a week or two, I'll have it back and I'll holler at you and you can come pick it up.
Super. Thank you very much. I want to thank you. Is it appropriate that I leave at this point?
Yes, sir, you may.
No, we're gonna make you stay.
Especially since you didn't bring any.
You didn't bring the beer.
Well, when I get the permit, I'll look you up.
All right, thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you, sir. Next item would be the consideration of a weed board appointment. After we approved those at the last meeting, Scott Camper has submitted his name to also sit on that board. So I thought it prudent to bring that right back to us and for approval for Scott Camper to sit on that weed board.
How many is that bringing up to?
5.
And that's that limit, or is that by their bylaws, or can they
The
take?
bylaws call for 10.
Because that's what I thought.
They're still working on modifications to the bylaws that they will bring to us. Because I don't believe it has a range in their bylaws, and so they have not been able to set 10 members for some time.
So that was why I was asking, how, if people, and I've had people ask, how long are you gonna let them keep applying for it? Or do we cut it off?
I would say.
Get anybody we can.
If we can get anybody we can, that's. You know, that's the crazy deal about it is you're supposed to have 40 acres or an acreage of some sort. And I don't know what the specific number is, but it's probably a little stringent for the amount of volunteers that you get for a board like that, so. Changing the
I
bylaws.
think it's it's not just acres, it was agribusinesses.
And that, I believe that in part is from state statute. But that statute states that the majority of that board, I believe is how it's stated,
Okay.
I won't swear to that. But there is allowance for some of the members to not have the 40 acres.
Okay.
But at least the majority of the board needs to have that. And I believe that's per state statute.
I move we accept the application of Scott Camper for the weed board.
And I second.
So do we have a motion on the floor to approve, Scott Camper to sit on the weed board? Any further discussion? Any public comment?
Question I have. Maybe this is more for you, Dan. What, would it be too much of a conflict of interest, or would it be okay as an acreage owner to sit on that board?
I think that
If I wasn't over the board as a managing commissioner.
I don't think there's an issue as long as, yeah, no,
All right.
I don't think it's unusual for commissioners to serve on various boards.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'll give it that some thought, so.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Anyone not seeing any public comment online or here? So those in favor of approving the appointment of Scott Camper to the weed board signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion carries. Next item on our agenda would be the consideration of finalizing finance director job description and posting the position.
Okay, I'll speak to that. Glad we got it posted and get some work done. Before, as you know, recall what we did, and we worked on it very hard in the offsite we had, or the work that we did with Bob Smith. And he went off and this is, I sent a copy of what he actually put together. This is it. He added a bunch of things he told us he would that were required by HR rules, and that's the first couple of pages. And then down into knowledge and skills and abilities where he and I were working on some things before he got sick. And there's two bullets that we added there, under knowledge, skills, and abilities, and they're in red. Did you get a red copy?
I do not, but go ahead.
What? Who copied that for you?
I did.
Oh,
Printed
it wasn't,
in black.
wasn't Mike, because Mike.
I printed it in black.
This one,
Yeah, and that,
this one.
It's
just, and it all stated, it's technical ability to perform all accounting functions to include journal entries, general ledger reconciliation, and all subledgers, for all subledgers, and creation of all accounting reports and month and year end closing and activities. It's a statement of technical things. The second bullet was technical ability to convert lease payments to present value to determine lease liability along with schedule for amortization, as well as a table for principal and interest to comply with GASB 87 and 86. We did point that out when we were discussing it with him, the GASB 87, 86 deal. And finally, the other bullet was advanced ability to use Excel functions as an item. Excel, turns out CIC is based with it's not Excel,
Well, it's Excel, because it's spreadsheets, but it's
a version under that.
it's the database.
Yeah.
Version of.
So the people,
So
they
it's,
gotta be experienced in
What word am I looking for?
There's a word for it. I can't remember what the name of the
Anyway.
program was.
Access.
Access.
Yeah,
That's
that's
it.
what,
It's Microsoft
CIC
Access,
is.
basically.
yeah.
So the Excel is actually something that is more advanced, but it's used in a lot of other things. So that was one change there. The other one down below, let's go down there in another page. And the next red shows up under education. So I'll make two comments on that. I think the first sentence was, when we discussed this with Bob, and these are like notes that he was taking. It's relevant work experience and knowledge may be substituted for required education or experience. And then he had in there as deemed by the Board of County Commissioners. But if you look down below under education and experience equivalency, so that's a redundant sentence. So I don't think we need that whole sentence above. Because the education and experience equivalency, Bob did a good job of putting together. Relevant work experience may be substituted for required education or relevant academic coursework beyond the minimum requirement may be substituted for required experience. That makes sense, and that's up to us in our interviews and people understanding how deep they are and whether we will allow what they're claiming is their relevant experience.
Yeah, we don't need to say the same thing.
That's right.
And do different ways.
That's right. And then that's why it was important then to say a bachelor's degree from an accredited four-year college or university in accounting is required. That's pretty straightforward. That's what we had there. And we don't need to say related area of study because that's another redundancy. Which is allowed.
Is that a redundancy?
It's a related area of study. It's the same thing. Relevant work experience would the substitute for that, I think.
So if we found a guy with 30 years worth of governmental finance
Right.
that didn't have an accounting degree, you'd be okay with that?
Yeah, because we're gonna agree that relevant experience makes it up.
Okay.
So you still want to have the requirements like anything else. You're hiring a guy, an electrical engineer, you want him to have an electrical degree, but if he's studied, if we've got a lot of practical experience and can recite where that law of physics came from, then big deal. So I think that covers everything. And then down below sort of hits to the last point here is the computer experience with CIC software and equivalent public sector. And so that probably ought to be put in there. I think we had there before, Bob did experience with or equivalent government software system preferred. In our case, we have CIC. It would be better to spec out what we really want. We don't care if he's got an experience in another system that's not really related. It would make sense to me unless we're going to change CIC.
No, not right now.
We're just getting trained up on what we got.
Let's figure out what we have
Yeah.
fully and all its capabilities and all
Right.
its costs or not costs.
Right.
First.
And then the end of it, there's nothing else to change. Bob did a good job of putting in the perfunctory licenses, certifications required, and the background checks will be done, all the things the HR will. I think Bob did a great job pulling it together after our lengthy discussion with him. Maybe what got him upset. That was hard work. Well, we won't have him in too soon.
Yeah, I think we have a whole lot of things that probably
Yeah.
weighed on his mind.
So keep in mind, this is the job description. There's no salary on that. So in order to post that, then what we need to do is take this job description and make it available online. So that when we post it, we refer to look up the job requirements for the job. We don't have to list everything out, but we do need to post a job pay range. And that's something that we need to agree on. If we're going to take the second step of this was to get it posted as quick as we can in the site. And Bob had, and I think we all agreed on the sites. We had the Association of County CPA or Colorado CPAs. We had another business that Bob had and that you're aware of.
About 5 of them.
Yeah. And then we can get Jordan to post those right away and then get it in the newspapers. And I would suggest we get it in our two papers, of course, but maybe even Pueblo, Colorado Springs, run it once. Because a lot of people don't necessarily go to those websites or are members of the ones that we're advertising. And the people that are in the Springs know where Westcliff is.
Mhm.
And they wanna be on it. What Sarah, the gal Bob was working with on the Colorado Association of Certified Public Accountants was suggesting that we post, and you saw his recruiting pamphlet that he wanted to put out with it additionally. So that they could see where they live and what would the value of coming here for your kids' benefit and as well as theirs if they're nearing retirement age. And we might get somebody that's willing to work on this job as opposed to play it out this way.
Right.
So I would recommend we spend the money. I don't know what it costs to run an ad in the Springs paper, but it's probably worth it for a couple of weeks. Those are my thoughts. Excuse me.
Probably two different motions there. I believe.
Right, there is.
Uh,
So I move we accept the job application as what do you call it, updated.
Yeah, I want to caution us on one thing. And this just came back in memory from a past job. There's some people that medically can't get a driver's license, but are fully functioning, able to do the job, right? To have somebody else drop them off. So making that a
Oh, yeah,
requirement.
that's a good point.
I don't mind leaving it as a requirement. Let's just remember that, let's just don't throw somebody out because they don't have
A car or a driver.
a driver's license, so. Let's just be careful about that.
Maybe you can put or ID.
A state issued
Yeah.
ID.
Well, and it says may be required. It says current driver's license as travel may be required. I guess that is required under.
Why don't we say, for state issued ID?
Yeah.
That's what you can
We can
use
do
for
that.
a vote when you vote, right?
Okay, or state issued ID.
But
Or government ID, I mean, it could be a veteran.
why,
Is an ID relevant then?
because, yeah. that's
Because
my
the whole
point.
point of the driver's license was so they can drive. Because that was the context of travel.
Everybody has to provide an ID to get employment, right? The I-9s.
If you're
forms that you have
gonna
to fill
go
out.
with an
Okay.
ID, I think we need to drop the travel portion of that.
Well,
Because you can't, an ID doesn't allow you to travel unless you have a driver, but that is why
You take
it's
it on
stated.
case.
Well, I would
you need a
say-
Driver's license.
Let's just leave it the way it is.
yeah.
Just
agree.
leave it the way it is, because that's a rare case, just. Let's not throw it out just because somebody doesn't. have
There's a
it.
way to accommodate.
Yeah, because the guy could ask, he said, I don't have a driver's license, can I still apply?
And that might fall under something for an ADA
Yes.
requirement. To be able to accommodate them.
I don't know, it's up to him to get
And
it.
we're in discussion with only a motion and no second.
Oh,
I thought he said yes, but
Okay.
he got into something else.
Yeah, well, and that's fine, because we do a lot of discussion before we even have a motion, but, I now have a second, so I have that motion on the floor, and I think I'm gonna go back to the bachelor's degree. Do we need to take out that related area of study? I
you're
almost
saying
feel
leave
that-
it in there?
I'm of the opinion, I believe that we need to leave that in there.
I don't think we do, Kevin, for the same reason I said, that's what we're telling them, they don't have to have a degree at all, and if their equivalent work covers it, that's what we got to do. It's, I think
But-
it's required.
You're saying that work will suffice as a substitute, but you're not saying then that a related field of study is acceptable. You're only telling them that the work is acceptable to take that place.
I'm not gonna change my mind, I think it's really good the way it's written. We put a lot of time on it. That it is, we wanted somebody with accounting, needs it in the accounting field.
We'll find out. we'll put it out there, and if we don't get somebody that's an accountant, because from what I understand, there's 300,000 accountants' jobs that are open that are unfilled.
Well, not only that, the fact that they
So-
read further and they say relevant experience, he's gonna say, look, I never got a degree and I got a business degree, but I've been working X.
Yeah, when you pinpoint it down to one word and one description, though, a lot of people may take it and go, oh, I want a county degree, even though they may be very well qualified.
That's why they focus on this other piece. I like it.
I still believe it needs to be in there, but if you can, gentlemen, don't, that's fine as well. You're good with it being done.
We'll try it.
Okay.
Try it for a few weeks, and if it doesn't get anything, we won't have to change it.
That's fair enough.
And
Open it up.
yeah,
Okay. All right, any further discussion here at the table?
None from me.
Public comment? Nadine?
What is the posted salary on this?
we haven't gotten to that
We,
yet.
we aren't there yet. This is just for the job description. Not for the posting.
Okay.
Anyone else? Seeing none. Those in favor of approving the job description as discussed here this morning, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion carries. Okay, second half of that, would be, posting the position. And part of that is the requirement that we have to post the salary on that. So I guess that will be this discussion now.
Okay, so to break into that discussion, and what I suggested that Mike do, where's there he is get with Jennifer, because she's posted them before, and have some help. And she was the PIO to help write it up based on the job description and get the right things in there to get people interested in looking it up. And also we'll post the job range, so we need to, we'll pick that. So that would be the first thing I would recommend. We want to get it written up. And the job salary range, we can throw one out. I would recommend starting it at 80 and bring it up to 110.
Okay.
I think this is a pretty good range. And then benefits, and then that's why what happens then, remember the recruiting thing points out the benefit package that we give on top of that, that would you want to consider. So it makes the whole thing more attractive.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, that's my motion. Motion is get Mike to work up the wording with Jennifer, get it in there, and the salary range of 80 to 110.
Trying to move us along, aren't you?
I wanted to have all this discussion and then realize that we never made a motion.
We always do that.
Okay.
All right, I'll second that.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to, I'll restate, just tell me if I'm correct or not correct. To have Mike coordinate with Jennifer Cree on the job posting, and to increase the salary range on that posting to read as 80,000 to 110,000.
Let me add one thing, and post it until further notice, then we can decide when we want to pull it, if we have to change anything like the job thing as well as the salary. We may have to,
Post it until filled, right?
yeah, let's do it that way, and then we can look at it.
Okay, so that was not part of the original motion.
Well,
Is
that's
that
why I
an
said that.
amendment to it?
Yeah, I was amending it before you actually said it, so we wouldn't have to amend it again.
Okay. It sounds like you're both in agreement. I want to make sure we cross our Ts and dot our Is. And to be posted, this is, I guess that's part of our discussion, so I have that motion to have Mike coordinate with Jennifer Cree on posting the position of finance director with an increase in the salary range to read as 80,000 to 110,000 and to be posted until filled. Is that correct?
Right.
Discussion.
I did talk to Jennifer, Mike, and she's willing, she's more than happy to do it, and she's around today.
And when you talk to, and forgive me, I forgot the lady's name.
Sarah?
Yeah. What was her thoughts on the typical range or what she was seeing for range?
That's
out
one of the
there?
reasons you wanted the recruiting thing, because she said the 110 is getting there, and she liked that. And the fact that we could bring them in and bring them up to it or negotiate with them, it's negotiable.
Mhm.
And that's something, I don't know if we say that in the posting, but it's, I think, is that assumed, Dan? Or do we need to say-
I wouldn't say it in the post.
Oh. So. And that was, she was excited about. She said there's a lot of people now that they know what it is, and they're gonna actually, because they're working with us, they gave us a break on the costs
Mhm.
again.
Mhm.
And they are gonna, she's
For
gonna,
posting it.
yeah, and she's gonna make sure, I think it's $90 or something.
Okay.
And she's gonna make sure that it gets circulated to a lot of other functions that they're aware of.
Okay.
People in different jobs.
Mhm. Mhm.
Have you seen the list of places that Bob had referred to in our discussions?
No, Kevin, I've not seen that.
You have that? I could reach out to his daughter and see if we can. get
Yeah, he
that
could do
list.
that.
I know
Jennifer
that-
has some too, I think, so.
I know he had some specifics that were actually for this type of.
That's true, he
position
did,
Right.
That, he wanted to make sure that was included in the postings.
right.
If you gentlemen are agreeable, I will reach out if we approve this.
To his daughter.
I will reach out to Chelsea and,
Yeah.
and see if I could get a list from them of these places to post. If I'm unable to, we can always add to our posting when he gets a little better here shortly. Anything else here?
No, that's all I got.
Let me finish my note. Public comment. Yes, sir.
Jim Chaplin, I just, want to comment on when it gets posted, it's a wide area post, out into Kansas and stuff, because I know from talking to other county officials that I know, they have advertised out there and they get good people that work for less money, because they get to come up and live in the beautiful mountains.
Their
That
mountains
might be
aren't very
better.
tall out there. Their mountains aren't very tall or lack of.
You can look a long ways before you see one.
Well, we certainly, I think one of the things that Bob was working is how you get that, and I think when these professional organizations do that, they're nationwide, Jim.
Okay.
And maybe there's another one that we could find specific in the Kansas area maybe or something. It's not a bad idea. Websites on some government websites that they've got. Have to have, I don't know.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, John Van Dorn, I was on the committee, the public committee that looked at the first 6 applications. And the 2 CPAs, especially in that committee, looked at the quality of the applications were very low. There was only one that was marginal that we'd even consider talking to again. And everybody felt that the salary range was just out of whack for the position and the skills
Right.
and the experience that that we were putting down on paper, and now we've kind of raised that bar again. So I think your range is too low. Like your person said, it's getting there, but it's not there. And the problem for me is we go through this process again, we don't get qualified applicants, and then we repost, and we're not making ourselves look very professional in doing.
That's a good
through that
point.
process. So I would say bump that up to 125 at least. So we draw a better pool of applicants to look at. Otherwise, I'm afraid we're just gonna keep spinning our wheels and doing it over again.
Cause we don't have to give the 125.
You don't have to do that.
That's true.
You may find somebody that is diamond in the rough for 80,000, and that's our person. But
To start with, and
To start
knowing that he could get up to that, eventually that's a
you
range.
might not get that person.
That's right.
Yeah, you might get people that are going, maybe, I'm willing to move to the mountains and take a pay cut, because it could be a huge pay cut for somebody that's just got 5 years of experience, and is already making 150 or 180 or 200.
Right.
And the other thing to consider, we've been working on our master plan for the town of West Cliff. And we're looking at how competitive we are with other towns, other mountain towns in southern Colorado. So we looked at 25 other towns, and our biggest weakness in terms of attracting new people to live in West Cliff is the performance of our schools. So if we looked at scores of schools for those 25 other towns, and we came in 26th. So right now, school performance is very low compared to other towns.
You're telling us we have to make up for that with.
I'm just saying that's a potential huge negative for someone bringing a family of school age children into West Cliff right now. Especially if they're already a highly paid professional, they're gonna look at the schools and say,
Sure.
no, thanks. So that's another thing to consider. Another reason for having that salary range at what needs to be.
Good point.
Thank you, sir.
And to modify the motion. Amend it. Because we're gonna leave the lower end at 80. Give it a shot.
I'm fine with that. What I don't wanna do,
Don't have to come back.
so I wanna say one thing. We're not just having one finance person in the finance department. So we need to be very, very cognizant of what we spend on one person. Right? Because we wanna maintain at least 2 people in the finance department. One, to give that person time off. The other reason is to make it so that when the auditor comes in, they don't go, you only have one person in your finances. Because that makes them
You have to have
automatically go, what is going on here? If this doesn't look good, it throws red flags up. And we need people to take off, so take off time, take rejuvenate.
Emergencies.
Right, emergencies, whatever, and have 2 people playing in our books. So that there's some accountability and there's some checking back and forth, so.
Well, I guess another way to look at it, it's 15,000 more a year investment, which isn't a lot, if you look at the bigger picture, that we can cover and then get the right leader in there.
And not if we can get it so that
Yeah.
our hind end audit cost is
Go
really
down.
driven down.
Yeah, that's right, so it's good. All right, well, I'll amend the motion to make the range go to 25.
All right, a second.
Okay.
Thank you,
So,
John.
I have a motion on the floor to amend the original motion to say,
To raise the upper end to 125.
to raise the upper salary range to 125,000.
Right.
Was further discussion on that?
No.
That one does not require public comment.
I would allow public comment.
Hmm?
I would allow public comment. because that's
I'm just-
typically
I
what
will-
We can
Yeah.
still comment on the 25
Uh,
days.
So at the present time, Nadine, it's on the new motion to amend the salary range to 125. Is that which comment is on?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Nadine Peterson. Based on the issues that the county is facing right now, many of them, it's because we don't have a qualified person in the finance office. So getting a person in there who's qualified that can do the work and straighten things out will actually save us money. It's like you, last week, you spent taxpayer money to fix the issue of the benefits that the employees hadn't been paid because they didn't know about it. They're open enrollment, so all of that. So I think that the money that is paid to a qualified person to be in the accounting department is going to be well spent. And yes, you do need to have more than one person in there. But still, it's money well spent.
Thanks, ma'am. Anyone else? Okay, I have a motion on the floor to amend the original motion to raise the upper salary range to $125,000. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Which takes us back to the original motion that we had on the floor. It would be consideration of having Mike work with Jennifer Cree to get this job posted, and with the posting now to read $80,000 to $125,000. Further discussion. Public comment.
Good.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. And Mike, I will reach out to Chelsea and see if I can get those other posting places that Bob had
Okay.
as well and get those used.
And Jordan Benson will probably be the person that actually does the actual practical posting of that after Jennifer and we have that together, so.
In the websites.
That's what we should.
You good to go?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll check. Next item on our agenda is a consideration of proclamation for National Day of Prayer. Thursday is the National Day of Prayer, and I am bringing forward this. I was asked if I could do that, and I agree. And this is a proclamation for the National Day of Prayer. Couple of you have that in your packets. I'll read through it really fast. And before I do that as well, there will be participants at the flagpole in front of the courthouse on Thursday morning as well. I'm not sure of the time.
It's a name from what I remember.
What time?
Is it? Well, was it?
Oh.
High noon.
Okay, thank you, sir. Proclamation is by the Custer County Commissioners, a proclamation for the National Day of Prayer. Whereas throughout history, America has faced trials and triumphs, and Americans have responded in prayer, seeking courage and comfort, inspiration, and joy-filled celebration. Faith compelled us to seek and cling to the light in times of darkness and spread light to those in need. Whereas, from the first gatherings of our founding fathers, elected officials have prayed and entreated those they serve and represent to join them in prayer, including the authors of our Declaration of Independence, wrote that the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world, end quote, and carried on to present day in presidential proclamations such as last year's invitation to join him in asking for God's continued guidance, mercy, and protection. And whereas a National Day of Prayer has not only been a part of our heritage since it was declared by the First Continental Congress in 1775, but it is a public law established in the United States Congress in 1952, approved by a joint resolution and amended by Congress and President Reagan with Public Law 100-307 in 1988, affirming that it is essential for us as a nation to pray, and directs the President of the United States to set aside and proclaim the first Thursday of May annually as the National Day of Prayer. And whereas in every state across America, the observance of the National Day of Prayer will be held based on the verses found in 2 Samuel 22, verses 29 through 31. For you are my lamp, O Lord, and my God lightens my darkness, etc. This God, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord proves true. He is a shield for all those who take refuge in him. And whereas unified prayer is mobilized across America every first Thursday of May on the National Day of Prayer, as neighbors come together to join their hearts and voices in reading sacred scriptures and attending services to seek God for the city and country where we live, learn, work, worship, serve, and desire all to thrive. And whereas we express our faith and exercise our freedom in prayer, then unite our hearts and voices in personal prayer and public gatherings across America with fervent praise, repentance, love, and humble intercession for our neighbor and nation. Holding fast to the promises throughout the Holy Scriptures that the Lord hears and avails much as he answers the faith-filled prayers of his people. Now, therefore, we, the commissioners of the county of Custer, by virtue of the authority vested in the Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim May 2nd, 2024 as a National Day of Prayer and to be recognized locally within our community. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand this first day of May in the year of our Lord 2024. I would move that we approve the proclamation for the National Day of Prayer as read here today.
I'll second it. But I have a discussion, some
Okay.
points to make, but let's,
So we do have this motion on the floor. Approve this proclamation, so go ahead, sir.
yeah, there's some conflicting verbiage in here. The National Day of Prayer is on the first Thursday of every May. Is the proclamation not exist forever? So are we designating the 2nd of May as the day of prayer? Because if we are, it's wrong, because the National Day of Prayer is always on the first Thursday of May. So that's my question. How long is the proclamation last? The second question.
It's really a declaration of
It's
sentiment.
support.
It's a
Support.
declaration of support by the board as of today.
Right.
I don't know that it,
And
it's any legal.
so really the verbiage ought to be just that we recognize it as a day of prayer, and we do plan to recognize the first Thursday of every month of May, then, but this year it happens to be on the 2nd, so. You understand what I'm trying to get to? How do
This says in every state across America, the observance of the National Day of Prayer will be held on Thursday, May 2024 with the theme. I took that, that this proclamation was just for this date for this year.
That's what it sounds like, and I think we really mean, we support the National Day of Prayer in this county, which will occur every year on the first Thursday. I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it? Until we rescind it or not. I
If
think-
we're not, I mean, if either the proclamation is just for this year, or we need to make or are you suggesting we make the proclamation
So we
for
follow
every
it.
year?
As long as there's a
Moving
National Day of
forward.
Prayer.
Okay.
That's all. Otherwise, we'll
So-
do it
Well,
again
what we
next year.
have,
Next year it'll be on the 5th of May,
right, what we have in front of us though is for this year.
or we can look at that one and just do it only for this year. Yeah,
So-
again next year.
Let me
You can
read.
bring it forward next year.
Let me restate your concerns then. So what you are looking for is under our now therefore, the Board of County Commissioners do hereby proclaim the first Thursday of May as a National Day of Prayer and to be recognized locally within our community.
Yeah.
I would amend my motion to state as such. So that last line there would be, do hereby proclaim the first Thursday of May
And we can
each
put-
year as the National Day of Prayer to be recognized locally within our community.
Yeah, makes sense.
Who seconded?
He did.
No, you seconded.
Oh, I
You
said,
made the motion.
I had the question this.
So I would amend my motion to state as such. Would you?
Okay, I'll second
would you
it.
agree with that on your second? Public comment on that? Sir,
Excuse me, Jim Shaplin, with the history of this country that you touched on, and the fact that we're living here by the blood of Christ mountains, I think we absolutely have to do this.
thank you.
Good job.
Anyone else on the amendment? Mr. Gilbert, is this on the amendment to the motion, initial motion? Mr. Gilbert?
Muted. Yeah. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
You can't. hear it.
Okay, thanks. The only issue I have with this is a county cannot proclaim a national day. And the national day already exists. So I would suggest changing the word proclaim to something along the lines of recognize or celebrate or something else.
And I believe that we are proclaiming that it will be recognized locally within our community.
That's not what you're saying. You're saying you will proclaim the National Day of Prayer. You can't do that.
If you read on and put everything into context, sir, the Board of County Commissioners do hereby proclaim the first Thursday of May as a National Day of Prayer and to be recognized locally within our community. So we are proclaiming that we will be recognizing the National Day of Prayer within our community.
No, you're proclaiming the first Thursday as the National Day of Prayer. It already is.
Okay. We may have to agree to disagree on that, sir. Anything else? Darla?
Yes, I would like to say that over the years, I have attended numerous council meetings in various cities and counties and also participated in and organized and taken part in many National Day of Prayer ceremonies.
Carla?
And, yeah,
Carla? We cannot understand a word that you are saying. You may be on a speakerphone or not close
Yeah,
enough
get-
to your
get on to
speaker,
the phone.
but we're struggling. You're like you're in a box.
Can't hear you.
Okay, is this better?
Much better.
Is this better?
Yes.
Darla's last name, she have a name?
This is
Hold
Darla.
on.
Go
Shoot.
ahead, ma'am. Darla, we can't hear you if you want to go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead. Darla, were you going to go ahead and speak? She's now muted.
All right, I guess that's a no.
Okay.
can you hear me this time?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay, I just wanted to say that over the past 20 plus years, I have attended many city, county, and state government meetings and participated and organized many National Day of Prayer ceremonies. And generally, a proclamation such as this is done every year at the county level. So this is to address Commissioner Canda's concerns that we're recognizing the National Day of Prayer and declaring it to be so in Custer County. And it's something that's just done every year. And it's generally done as a reminder to the public that the National Day of Prayer exists. Because if you just do one and then never do another one, then it never comes back before the board, never is seen or heard again by the people. I haven't seen anything about it gathering at the flagpole. So that's just my 2 cents there, that it's something that you might want to look into, just creating a proclamation every year that you do recognize and honor the National Day of Prayer, and that there will be participation in that nationwide proclamation at the county level here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'm seeing no other hands. Those in favor of approving the proclamation for the National Day of Prayer as amended here this morning, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
What?
First, you didn't vote on your amendment.
We did not. Oh, well, thank you for that.
We did.
Nope, I
You
think,
were in comment on the amendment.
okay, thank you. So those in favor of the amendment to the proclamation here this morning to change from May 2nd, 2024 to read the second Thursday, the first Thursday in May as a National Day of Prayer, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Now back to the original motion, which now reads, the Board of County Commissioners do hereby proclaim the first Thursday in May as a National Day of Prayer to be recognized locally within our community. I would state that even with the change in the verbiage, that does not prevent us from bringing that forward again, to bring it to the forefront. I don't believe.
I have a suggestion, if you want to discuss that. You're talking about the motion.
I'm on the original motion now,
Yeah.
and that was just part of my comment to that.
So what you could do is you could put, instead of as, you can say the National Day of Prayer to be recognized in the county community.
So are you suggesting another amendment?
Maybe, I'm just saying that if it makes it clearer to you.
No, I'm just saying that my only comment was by making the change from May 2nd, 2024 to, and doing what we did, does not prevent it from coming back
That's-
before the board
that's
again
right.
to make another
Yeah,
proclamation.
that's good. We can.
Because
I'm
it's
good
not
with
a proclamation is just saying that
We're supporting the
Agree and
National Day of Prayer that
support that.
is on third.
So-
I agree.
any further discussion here at the table on that motion yet?
No.
Any public comment on the motion before us, which is to approve this proclamation? Darla, are you still, is your hand raised again, or did you just leave it up?
Sorry, I just left it up. My phone is giving me problems today.
Alrighty, thank you. Seeing none, then those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. I will not sign this copy. I will wait till we have different one. Page one also has one spot that needs to be fixed.
So what you do, you take out all the lines and just type it in normally, is this a PDF file?
It is a PDF. I was struggling with it anyway, making some changes. So where did you get that from?
You were
I was
happy.
wondering if we could, if they've got it in a Word document that would make it a lot better.
That would be Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the one thing I saw on the front page, there's a letter missing. It's actually got a blank spot for it. I'm not catching it now, but there's one typo on the front page and then to make that change on the second page.
Can we take a break?
Yes, we may. We'll have a short recess.
Thank you.
Wow.
That's we're just about done. Yeah,
Right.
done. We're all about runs on an hour and a half. Yeah, oh,
All right, the time is now 10:35 a.m. I will reconvene this BOCC meeting. We have the next item on our agenda will be discussion of procedure for calling a special meeting. And that is a process we have been calling some special meetings as of late. Including one for this evening. This process would be for all of our special meetings. Would you like to?
So I'm
before
just,
you start, Lucas,
go ahead.
the special meeting, any meeting other than the BOCC meeting, is that special workshops, et cetera? Where you want to look at this?
Well, a workshop would be different than a special meeting. Tonight is probably more of a workshop than it is necessarily maybe a special meeting. If we're not gonna make decisions in that meeting, and it's just an informative thing, maybe we should consider that being a workshop, but we really didn't get to discuss that in an open meeting like we are now.
No, what we've done, okay, we're having a discussion.
Right, an emergency meeting, that's, I think that could be different. Emergency meeting, we've got, we've got, a motor grader accident or something like that where we need to get together and make some decisions. Something like that is an emergency in my mind.
Yeah. I hear you. The intent, let me say the intent. We've gotten in, as you know, from the past, we want to have transparency. We want to make sure that whenever there's two commissioners or more in any meeting, that we announce that. So that if a decision came up, and we've done that in DA meetings and others, we have to vote and we say, yeah, we'll blah, blah, blah. So that's why I wanted to have this, and when I made a poll with you guys, we needed to have it. It was it's for information than it is if there's a decision to make, like, let's get more information. And let's vote on that. I don't want to have another meeting and a workshop to do that, because that's a waste of time. So all I hope for is in the agenda item, there's only three things. One is to take a look at, once we understand the issues, understand the status, what is it that the experts are going to tell us, the presentations that will involve. That's all it is. And then make a decision. Sounds like it makes sense that we ought to consider doing a paper ballot, for example. Doesn't say we're not going to decide we're going to go do a paper ballot. That's not the intent at all. We need more information in the process. The next bullet down there says the effective procedures and security measures. Well, there's a lot more to taking a paper ballot. How do you do that? What are the procedures? We're not going to solve that tonight. Don't want to, but I want to have the opportunity to say, well, if there's recommendations, then let's get options to us at some point. Whether it's this year or next or whenever, we still need to discuss that, but that would be in separate meetings. So this is just for that exact thing. The last one is, as in, maybe there's something else that'll come up in our discussions tonight. But I didn't want to limit it to just not being able to say, well, then let's go and take a look at where, for example, where would you hold the paper count? Do you do it? That's something to consider. Lang Hall and have two, three different people count. I don't know. We need the option. So I just want to get it on the table because we've gotten a lot of interest from the last couple of years on a paper ballot. And I'm tired of listening to it. Let's see what we can do or can't do and make a decision with it. So this is just a kickoff basically for that reason.
But calling for those meetings, right? Because
how do we get to them?
If we go down this road, and the way we did this one, that means Kevin Day or I could just call a special meeting and go, hey guys, we're gonna have a meeting this date. We're not doing it openly to the public to where we can discuss, what do we want that meeting to be about? When do we want to have that meeting? Typically, and Wednesday nights have been church nights in America.
Right.
And now we're having it on a typically what has been historically a church night for Americans in the United States. And we're having it on that night. And I've, in my mind, even though I may not go to church on Wednesday night, I've kept that night, I've tried to keep the county from planning things that night so that I don't put out conflicts that people have to go, well, should I go to my local church or should I go to the BOCC meeting?
Okay, I agree with you 100%. But the issue is, we can have that discussion. I don't think we have to have the discussion in a public meeting that we're gonna have a meeting. I think we have the discussion, do we want it, what would be the day we could do it? By statute, and I've read it, Dan, is the statute says that you have to have the 3 commissioners agree to do it. And period. It doesn't say in an open meeting, at all. If you're gonna spend kind of people's money or you're gonna do make a decision that affects them, they don't know it's gonna affect them until we have the meeting to discuss it.
Not necessarily. I'm gonna let Dan have the floor here.
That's
for a
my
minute.
view.
I mean, the statute says the board may call special meetings.
That's right.
As I interpret that, that would be a decision of the board, not of any one commissioner.
That's right.
The board could establish, I think, a policy that would allow one commissioner to call a special meeting if the board wanted to. But that's up to the board, to establish that policy. It's, I think, intentionally somewhat vague. But the point is, if the board is making a decision to hold a special meeting, that's the board making a decision. And that needs to be, unless there's some absolute emergency, that needs to be done in an open meeting.
To have a meeting? Dan?
Yes, because the board is making a decision to meet. That's a decision. That's a discussion among the board. And again, I think if there's an emergency situation, you can probably skirt that. Where you don't have the time or you're meeting every week. I don't understand why the board couldn't have a discussion about at one of those meetings about some midweek meeting.
And we could have done it this time, but we canceled the meeting on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is this, though, Dan, I'll argue with you. We called a meeting with all the internal business meetings. We made a decision and we meet with the employees, and we did that not in an open meeting. It was a closed meeting. And we had a meeting without the public there because they didn't need to be. We weren't making decisions that affected them.
But the decision to have that meeting was done during an open meeting. Just like
maybe so.
all of our previous special meetings have been called by the board during a regular BOCC meeting.
That's okay. And I don't care. And then that doesn't matter. It's okay. I'm just saying, I think it's vague enough that it doesn't say it has to be in an open meeting by that statute. If you read it out.
Well, I agree the statute's vague, but I also think that the open meeting statute indicates that any meeting where a decision is going to be made by the board, it doesn't say any decision except for, another meeting. It's
I don't know.
It's a decision by the board to have a meeting.
And I don't have a problem with that, except that in some cases, and we've done that in the past, and I know emergencies and COVID was one of them. Several of them, as a matter of fact. Where we got together and we agreed, or even over the email, we agreed that we as a board, and this wasn't, and I think erring on the side of transparency is a good thing. That's why we're posting, and I need to make sure that Mike understands it too, because Jennifer got really religious about it. And we go to an Upper Arkansas Valley Conservancy District meeting. If you were going to go along with me, we would have posted that as that instead of just the commissioner that's going. We do that to the DA meetings and all those, because, or even this CCI meeting we're going to. We're going to be sitting around discussing a lot of things and agreeing with people on things. So that keeps us clean, and I like that. So I'm fine with that. I think that if we want to say every meeting, that means we treat every meeting the same way. Because if we're going to have a workshop, and 3 of us are going to be there, and we could actually decide to make a decision in that workshop. If we said that's what we're going to do, the 3 of us are there, other than a workshop that's just there for informational purposes only. We'd have to shut up and not make any decision, we just have to listen. But if we get it open enough, so in a workshop we're asking for things, we might want to make a decision, well, let's go get a committee to go do that, let's vote on that in that meeting, instead of waiting for the next meeting till 2 weeks later.
I think for,
Come on there and play through if you want.
I'm trying to look for the planning zoning, where's that?
Russ.
Oh.
Rock
there?
House.
Okay.
I think calling for a special meeting like what was called for Wednesday night should be done in an open board meeting. Cause it errs on the side of transparency. If it's important enough to have a meeting about, it's important enough to discuss and plan in front of the public.
Sure.
We're not fixing the toilets. That's, the community doesn't care about that. At least I hope they don't care about it.
They better, because they don't want to come into a building that doesn't have any toilets. That's an important one.
And if they wanna call me about it and talk about it, I'm okay with that. I'll talk about anything with anybody, whoever.
Okay, so any meeting we want to call from here on out, we'll have a discussion the week before to decide to do it, or the day before, well, it has to be 24 hours before.
It has to be 24 hours before, right?
So we may have to call a special meeting to do that.
We may have to, but we may have
So
to.
how do you do that? Because we can't.
Well, so
Look, if there's a
everybody-
true emergency, though, you don't have.
You don't have to
time.
do it.
right, it's not.
I think that
Emergency
a couple of
meeting
you
and a
can
special meeting is
can
completely.
get together.
I agree.
I mean, no, I can't, number one, I can't imagine a citizen complaining about that, and number two, I can't imagine, again, in a true emergency, a court saying, shaking their finger at us and
Right,
just invalidating whatever.
Well, that's true, and I'll tell you something else though, too, and I like the fact that we consider that, and we also need to consider, and I think you hit on a little bit, whether it's Wednesday night or church night or not, I know a lot of churches do that, but sometimes a normal church night, you might want to sacrifice for something that's important, and the people do that all the time. But if we have an opportunity to change it, we ought to. The other reason is to get at the meeting, and I know we've all had requests to get the meeting moved to a time that everybody can come that works. And that's a good thing to do. It's hard on us, but it costs more money for us to do that, just as a county, but it's a citizens that want it, and they're the ones that are providing us the money to operate anyway.
And
So it's important to get them here rather than those that are retired and spend a lot of time coming to these meetings.
And I think that is a discussion we should have someday. I think that would create workshops to discuss what's going on and going to happen in those meetings, like most counties do. And then the decisions are made openly to the public from a 5:30 to 7:30 time period on a Tuesday evening. And maybe we go down to every other county that it's our size, 2 meetings a month. That is not a workshop meeting.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So
So what do we want to do now? Want to make a motion here?
Well, I think we're still discussing here.
A motion on the, no, we can take it one step at a time, right? You want to have a.
I don't know if we
Special
need a
meeting.
motion, or are we gonna follow our statute? And let's make sure that we don't plan meetings outside of, especially special meetings, emergency meetings, that's a different story. But we don't plan special meetings outside of the public's views. We don't,
Maybe we shouldn't call it special.
that we come together
Meeting.
and we go, hey, we think this is important to the citizenry. Let's have a meeting about it and let's pick this date.
I agree.
And this is the topics or the people that we're gonna have come to attend that meeting. I don't know if it needs to be a motion. It's just, we have a state statute. We should
Why
follow.
don't you read the
it.
statute so for the record, so everybody knows? I agree with that statute.
So this is 3010-303 meetings of board. Each board of county commissioners shall meet at the county seat of its county at least one business day of each month. And at other times and locations within the county as in the opinion of the board of the public interest may require. Such meetings shall be held on a regular and published schedule as determined by resolution of the board. The board may hold such special and emergency meetings and adopt such publication procedure therefore, as the public interest may, in the opinion of the board, require.
Right.
And then there's some annotations. The powers of the Board of County Commissioners are statutory. No authority is conferred upon it except at meetings held at the times prescribed by statute, or at such other times as in the opinion of the board, the public interest may require. No one member has authority to call such a meeting, and their judgment can be expressed only after they come together. And to make the meeting one at which such expression can be given, all the members must be present. Under former section boards of county commissioners were bound to hold their first regular meeting for the year on the first Monday in January. This section is silent as to the manner of calling special meetings, and there are strong reasons for requiring an order entered of record at a regular meeting by which the public at large, as well as the members of the board, may have notice of the time and the name of the business to be transacted.
Right.
If, however, it should be conceded that the board may meet upon the call of the chairman or otherwise, a second rule of public policy requires that all members of the board shall have notice of the meeting. And it was not a violation of this statute when county commissioners met and transacted business without notice of a meeting held on a day other than those provided for by the statute, where it was well known throughout the county that the commissioners regularly held their meetings on the first Monday of every month. When it talks about only after they come together, all the members must be present. That to me is a physical presence. And I'm not beating you up, Bill. That's not.
No, I know
this is.
that. I'm
This
trying to
is,
clear.
I want us to be very transparent, very clear, and very concise about how we move forward with special meetings.
So
that
I
we
agree. I agree in the physical,
we are right with the community.
right, but the point is. We come together physically. I always avoid sitting in this room with the three of you, with nobody here.
Mhm.
It's not right. That's a board meeting.
Mhm.
And so in order to have a meeting that come together, you're suggesting we have a meeting physically. And right now, the only physical meetings we have are the ones we published.
But
So
I think
we can't come together in a special meeting unless we make a notice that says we're gonna do it 24 hours before we do it.
well, but we can set those in this meeting. So,
Yeah, right,
Like
right.
us, like you and I going up the Vermont Trail. I don't think we're violating sunshine laws to go up there and deal with maintenance issues of the county. That is typical work. I don't
agree.
see that as we're making a decision that fundamentally changes the
Right.
direction,
I agree.
the choice of the community at large. And Dan could correct me if I'm
I'm fine with that.
outside of the sunshine laws there.
Right.
And
And that was my
technically, we could all be in this room together doing our work without violating the sunshine laws. It,
No, that's like.
to err on the side of caution, to avoid that, yes, but there's nothing that says we can't all work in the same room if we're not making this discussion and decisions.
Right.
That would be outside of the law. But to be in the same room together is not a violation of the sunshine law. But back to some of
We don't
this,
make a decision and then.
Well, yeah,
Or discuss, not even
You
just.
can't
making a
discuss
decision.
anything.
It's discussion. as well.
Discussion.
Can't have a discussion.
yes. But speaking on how this was set up, we have an employee that worked overtime 3 days during this last weekend, getting some of this set up. Could that have taken place on normal work hours? If we had done it through a meeting, I believe so. I don't believe we would have to pay that gentleman overtime to do that.
Or we get him compensated.
So-
Vacation, and
Well, I'd like to,
we've done that as.
if people would like to probably enjoy their weekend.
Right.
This gentleman worked in part all 3 days of his weekend.
Mhm.
I believe that we should put forth our agenda.
I agree.
That was not the case. This agenda
Oh.
was written by someone outside of county employment. It was not written,
Actually, it was written by me.
excuse me for a second. It was not written by someone in the employment of the county. It was edited and re-edited by someone other than yourself, sir.
You know what?
Uh,
No, I've worked with Mike on it.
who else worked with Mike on it?
It was me.
I'm not
And
gonna bring
I-
a name up, but I would respectfully disagree with that.
I asked, a couple people to give him some stuff. That was all that I did.
So.
To help me
we,
get the agenda written.
my point is that we should put forth our agenda.
I agree.
And it should state the facts. I had, when this was posted to the county's official Facebook page, it contained a very nice looking banner with a flag behind it. That has never been done on any of our postings
That
before.
had nothing to do with that.
Okay, I'm not saying that you did on that. That banner I had removed because we had not done that before. And I just wanted to state that I'm the one
What they did.
that had it
Who
done.
did?
But I would say that part of our process is, yes, we need to call these during a public meeting. And it is us that sets the agenda. Or I would go as far as to say that the chair would put forth the agenda for the meeting in coordination with the other members of the board.
That's right, absolutely.
And,
That's what we've been.
but that's not what was done here. I saw this finally yesterday. After it had been edited and re-edited, and then I saw this. I got a list of the potential speakers yesterday. I have
So did
not, I have not seen anything or any documentation. We've been really big on receiving documentation and supporting evidence and documents beforehand.
Right.
Well, I have bios on the potential speakers, but that's all I have seen on this. I don't know. I am supposed to chair this meeting tonight and did not, I don't know what our process was gonna be, and that's why we're having this discussion.
That's why I
now.
wanted to have it too, again.
So,
If we hadn't been on here, we could have been discussing.
that are some concerns that I have that I would like to bring forth. We need to be cognizant of the fact that, these meetings are BOCC meetings. They are put forth by the BOCC, and when we say we should be naming what these meetings are about, and we should be putting that out and agreeing what is going to be on that agenda. And that did not happen at this time, I do not believe.
No, all I did was have discussions with you guys, and that was it.
The discussion was, do you have time on Wednesday?
That and the fact that we were gonna bring a data in to potentially raise questions that we could discuss, just like I've just described it. And this is the first time we've had a chance to do it. But anyway, I agree.
So the process for tonight. Do we know how many speakers we have?
3 as far as I know now. some may be on Zoom, so I haven't gotten, but what you have are the bios of the people that might be able to add something to it. We'll know that later this afternoon,
So we may or may not have more than three.
right? But there's 3 for sure,
Okay.
and 2 that I've heard that will be on Zoom potentially. We'll know that later.
Okay.
And those bios are in there.
And they are all on the first bullet point.
Right, and so what I was gonna propose to do is get the meeting started and let me do, I'll introduce them. I'll read the bios out loud so the public has that. Matter of fact, we could decide to publish the bios, might be a good thing, or just what we've got, that sheet with everybody's name and a quick little sentence on it would be good. So they know who's talking and why. Let them talk about it. It's all related to a paper ballot. Do you do it or do you don't? What's the status? Where is it in the context of the national states that are doing it now? And why they're doing it? What does Colorado look like? The expert for Colorado is definitely going to be here. So he knows all the things that are going on currently in the area. It's not about changing anything because it's going to make a difference in Custer County. I don't think we're going to change anything right now, but we might. The way you get to a paper ballot eventually is the counties all have provided for it. The legislature decides to do it, and they pass the law to do that. Right now, we don't. Mail-in ballots might be an issue, maybe not. People talk about one day to vote like we used to do, and maybe making that a holiday. We're not, that's not involved here. We're still mail-in ballots. That'll happen. The processes go. The issue is, do we use Dominion or not? That's the discussion to have, and why? Why is it good? Why is it not? I want to know more. And we need to know more to make the decision. So I see any decisions made are going to be related to what will we do next? What data do we need to decide whether we're ever going to do it or not? So I like the idea, what Mike put together here was a process that says, let's log everybody in that's there. I want to hear from everybody, whether you're a Democrat, an independent, or a Republican, on what you think of your vote. Is your vote secure or not with the system? Not whether it's secure and how we handle the election here internally. We know that, we do it. It's good. Is it secure in the network that you're connecting to and how it's being used? And I don't have enough data to intelligently argue it. I have enough experience knowing that what is been discussed is valid. It is true that it can be. And I know that some evidence has been proposed that it supports that, and that's what I want to see tonight. That's why these are the experts that have been doing it and have been volunteering their time to protect our vote, which is very important. So I think what Mike put together here, getting a record of who's there, their name and address, and whether they're a resident of the county. And then make it public record, a comment for public comment, and check the block. I'm a resident, my address is it, and my comment is this, or my question is this, can I get an answer? In addition to the time that we might have during the presentation, I think it's legitimate to have the guy, whoever is presenting any data, if that raises a question in any of the public's mind, one way or the other, to clarify it, we need to know that. And we could give them, and we have to watch the time, 3 minutes to ask the question and let that guy, or 2 minutes might just be a good question. And then if they
that
want.
might be something we need to decide before tonight.
That's right. And so I was gonna suggest that we get Andrew Zeller, maybe be a parliamentarian or a sergeant of arms, and help direct traffic for us so that he can make sure we get balanced questions. I've seen this happen at CCI. People want to comment and they just line up behind the mic, and you get the same guy saying the same thing instead of the pro con. And if we could do that, maybe we can get a better balance of what the public really is thinking about the data.
Where would that take place on this agenda?
There's two places. One would be during the presentation of the data. We need to let whoever is presenting some comment on what Dominion had a problem doing this, and here's why it's not a good thing to have, or whether here's another machine that we think you should use. And if there's a discussion on that, if there's a question that's burning, that's gonna be one or two or few, maybe not a lot. That would be your job as the chairman to say, okay, you got a comment here. I think at the end of the presentation by everybody, then that would be, I think where Andrew or you or me or Kevin or Lucas could do, is make sure we get a balance of pro, con, and let's hear what they've got to say about the presentation.
Because
Or the
on
data
this,
they've heard.
You're not gonna be able to, I mean, I understand the one for balance, but just to be clear, you can't tell someone they can't speak because.
No,
you've already had enough
that's right.
cons, or you've already had enough.
No,
pros.
but if you got a whole bunch of pros, then at the end, let them speak, right?
and
Yeah, that's my point, is I don't want us to say that, to start
It's all over.
dictating people can or can't speak.
No, everybody should
You've
have.
already had enough of this side, we now need to hear more of
I
this
agree.
side. Okay.
And the reason Mike made up these public comment for the record in paper form is because if we did not have anything on the floor to vote on, there is no place on this agenda for public comment.
Actually, there is, because it says, public comment, I'm glad on things that were voted on.
And so if we don't have a motion on the floor, there is no place for public comment on this.
That's
agenda.
right, we should make that announcement up front, you're right.
So, and
I think
that's
that,
why this is here.
I think we will allow, and that would be my desire. I didn't really realize that was up there, that it should be public comment will be allowed, the whole thing.
So this is what gets back to this original. Agenda item on here is. Calling for a special meeting, we need to be able to go through all the,
Mhm.
where is it set up? If we're renting a space, we've got a time limit. It's capped off per the rental agreement. We're paying for this, we're paying for 2
Excellent.
hours, it's capped to 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever that cap is. But it's all these nuances that we gotta, it's all the practical stuff that has to be taken care of. And if this is a BOCC driven
We wanna do it right.
meeting, we gotta have a budget for it, we gotta have money for it, we gotta have, you know, where's that coming from? Approved? Cause if Kelly's not gonna be there, and we need to talk about who's gonna be our record keeper for that night. If that's Mike can't be handing these out.
That's why we have to find somebody to do that, and that's why I proposed Andrew, he agreed he would do that.
Okay. So you have him on the phone, okay. Didn't know. You said you were gonna ask him, I didn't know if you had asked.
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
You can keep order that way too.
So are we bracketed to?
No, we're not.
Okay, because our agenda says.
I'll only put that out there, to get people to know. And the reason it was 7:30 in the beginning was because if people came and they hadn't eaten dinner because they have a chime that by that time, we try to get most of the meeting wrapped up. If it goes over that, it goes over it, then it happens. We're not capped.
But we're capped on the space, the time at Lang Hall, right?
Space meaning.
So when you rent for 4 hours, you're capped at a certain time, those people need to leave so that we can close it up.
And I've got that coordinated with
Okay.
Rick already.
Okay.
He can be there until midnight if we want him to.
Okay. Okay.
Is that important?
So. But I didn't know.
I know.
And
I know, I get it.
And if we post a meeting that says 5:30 start time, 7:30 end time,
And
are
people,
we gonna run till 9:30?
well, do we run until we post our meetings till,
We don't post an end date on our meetings here because they
well,
run,
that's true.
we, on this agenda.
We've been known to go.
So,
more than we need.
once again, on this
Maybe we ought to cap
agenda,
it.
we have posted a stop time.
I need to know what Dan's overtime hours are after 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, geez.
Jeez. So I can prepare my, my strict buy down budget.
I agree.
So what? So
The
what do we-
objective is to try to get it done, Kevin.
Okay, because
If we don't, that's
the
fine.
number of speakers that we have plays into that. If we have a 7:30 stop time, that will affect your question and answer.
Okay, so
period
let's
as
talk
well.
about that.
There's 100 people at 2 minutes.
Let
a person.
me tell you what the speaker's
2 minutes.
expectation is.
Hang on 1 second, please.
I was gonna-
Your thinker, go ahead.
No, I think you guys
Sure.
finish this before I bring up a whole other thing.
Okay. Here's how they're looking at it. This is information. They want to tell us what the people want to ask. And people need to understand it because it's the citizens of the county. It's not me, you and I, where I'm gonna tell you what I want to do. I want to know what they want to do. And I want them all there. And they can ask questions. They can try to say, I've heard, see, a lot of rumors are going around on everything. And so here's an opportunity. These people are willing to stand there and their time. And they do this nationally. They've been all over this country. And we're lucky to be able to have that here as the county that we are, because little counties matter. The foundation builds up, and every little county that comes together with the same purpose to constitutionally and legally needs to have the data to make those good decisions. They're willing to come in, give a quick little summary. Here's what we've done. Here's what's happening in Georgia. Here's what's happening in Texas. Here's what's happening in Michigan. I've even talked to the guy, there's a sheriff up in Michigan that has an expert he's working with, happened to be in Colorado. In order to find the expert in Colorado, got the number. So they're gonna tell us what's up and why and how valid it is one way or the other. And then people can quiz them. How did you get that data? Why is it really, is it real or is it a rumor? So that's why the only reason it was to put it can be over by 7:30. They're willing to stay as long as it takes. If there's a lot of people that are interested in staying, we're obligated. I am obligated. I want to hear what the citizens have to say rather than me going out and saying, what do you think about it? Or you doing it separately and not covering it as much as the citizen would like. And I would like to have usually we get upset when somebody keeps repeating the same thing, but if they are for something or against it and there's the same guy behind, I'd like to know how many feel the same way or raise hands or something like that. We can have the flexibility to do that in this kind of a meeting to get it. We sort of did the same thing when we had the people coming on the zoning and when we did it a long time ago, we had a lot of people commenting on proposed regulation. Same kind of
Workshop.
Yeah, workshop.
Sure.
So we may let them make decisions in that.
Go ahead, sir.
My concern and what I think brought up this whole conversation is that this is all a conversation the board should have had before this meeting was scheduled.
I agree.
In part because what is going to happen tonight is, with all due respect, we're going to hear one side of this story. And I would imagine the board would have wanted to have an exploration about hearing both sides. And also, quite frankly, getting input from the chief election officer for the county before scheduling this meeting.
Well, what?
And now what's probably going to have to happen, or might happen, based on some discussions I've had with a couple of you, is that we'll have to have a second meeting where we hear the other side of the story.
Well, maybe so,
and-
and that's nothing wrong with that.
Let him finish, please.
But if we had this discussion in an open meeting like we're having now, that all could have been planned out to where we don't have to rent out the hall twice. We don't have to have two different meetings where we could have, one or two speakers from one side, one or two speakers for presentations from the other side and whatever. To the extent that even the board has a role in this, which I'm not even sure the Board of County Commissioners has a role in any of this, but that's a whole other question.
Well, Dan, and you haven't seen some of the presentations, but they have both sides presented. Now, they have the data and they have the quotes, they have the literature, and then they do present everything. They honestly do, but that's what we've got to pull out of them too today.
I would respectfully disagree on that point, but they may have data, but they are presenting it from their perspective.
Well, maybe.
And yes, I would like, and I will say it here, I would like to have now an opportunity for us to hear the opposing position, facts as presented, from a differing point of view, because if this is a fact-finding venture, we need to find out all of the facts so that we can then, if we need to do change or stay the same or whatever we need to do, we will be making a more informed decision.
Right, but we're not, see, I agree, Kevin. We still may have to do that, even if we just started out saying, let's get both sides. You gotta we're gonna find out things as we get it. There's gonna be people that have of the other side that will be coming anyway, because this meeting has gotten a lot of visibility for whatever the reasons are, from people coming from other counties. There are other counties that'll be watching us tonight, yeah, because of that. They've been working it on both sides. They've got the data. So, but you gotta start, and that's the point. And if we learn by doing that, I would have had this same discussion, if we'd have had this meeting 2 weeks ago. You gotta start somewhere and get the right people in. And now this will lead to somebody else. Well, what about getting Joe Blow, the professor and whatever, that can show you that Dominion is really a perfect system that's not hackable, that show me the data. Right now, all I can tell you is the data that they've shown and the testing that has been done, and a lot more depth than ever before in the last couple of years. So I want to see it. I want the citizens want to see it. I want them to see it, whether they agree or not.
And I want to see it as well. It's not that I don't want to see this, but I want to see.
And so we may have
more than just this presentation before I make any decisions on this, because it is a big issue. You know, I've had plenty of phone calls. Well, if they want to change this, why aren't they doing this where they can affect that change? Why are they not in Denver? Why are they doing this in Custer County, which we do not affect state rules and policies?
That's actually not true. And in fact, they have taken it to state, and they've gone to, there are 25 states that they've given it to the governor, the attorney general, and the secretaries of state. And they all have seen the data, and they agreed there is a problem. And they've said, well, we'll live with a 20% different, whatever. We need to hear that. And now they pull that out of it. Then we need to see why does it matter that a county, it does matter. Doesn't matter what the size of the county is. It matters that the county understand this. We work for the people of the county. The people need to have confidence that the vote that is cast, not here and not how it's handled locally, we can prove that how we handle it. That once it's gone into the system, how do you affect that so that my vote isn't overshadowed by somebody outweighing it with an illegal ballot somewhere else? And you'll understand that more tonight.
And I'm getting down a rabbit trail here just a little bit, but I'm going to make this comment based upon that statement. We're worried about what happens after these numbers leave Custer County. I heard you just say that. We're not worried about the numbers here. So if we were to completely do away with any machine and we say we are going to do a complete hand count, we're going to print our own ballots, we're going to go through all this and do a hand count. At the end of that, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you would submit those numbers to the state.
Right.
Is that submission any different than the submission she makes using the machines that we have now in place? Once the state gets it, do they not have the same opportunity to change those numbers? That is what is going to be presented here, I believe. do they not have the same opportunity to skew those numbers with a hand count once it leaves our hands?
No, I'll tell you why. It's because there's people that don't vote. There, you only get, let's say 50% of the people in Custer County to vote. There are people that did not vote. In a hand count, you take the ballots, the actual printed ballots, and you put them in a box and you lock it up. And now you know that my votes, I know what they are, and nobody else can change those votes that I know voted. What happens electronically, if knowing that there's a handful of people, let's say 50 people that haven't voted, what that technology can do, it can actually make that machine print internally another ballot that's filled out, and you'll see how that works, and actually make it load that into the count that the county has officially.
But that's at the county level here you just described, and you just told me
No.
that you were,
Well-
and we're doing a discussion that probably
Well,
needs to be held tonight.
That's exactly right.
So,
So-
and that's why I hesitated.
And that's why I
to
wanted to
that.
make sure people understood what
so-
we're listening to, so that we understand
So,
how secure
we're-
is our vote.
Yeah, we're getting off track, and I am the one that did that, but, so that's probably a discussion for tonight, because we're
That's a good one to have.
we're on discussion of procedure for calling a special meeting, and that is not where we are at
Okay, so
now.
well, right now, we're in a discussion on how to handle tonight, right? So,
So you're saying that we will have public comment during this? I would have liked to have seen that on the agenda.
but we can make that announcement. Now, I wish that we could have done that. We should have done that. Because we usually have a place up front, and you're right.
Well, we have a regular platform that we use when we make the agenda. And that's on there. So we will
So what could have,
convene the meeting. We will have the pledge and the invocation. We'll have a roll call.
so let me make a proposal here then. Why don't we strike each item voted on, and just public comment will be allowed?
We're way less,
Reprint
we're
this.
way less than
I
24
don't know
hours.
how to override, it's not overriding my,
Excuse me,
No.
we're at discussion here at the table.
But we're not changing the agenda, we're just allowing the public comment to occur is all. But I'm proposing we print up a bunch of agenda items so people know tonight, right? You want to have some handed out or not?
A bunch of agenda items or a bunch
No.
of agendas?
Sheet of paper with this sheet of paper.
So
You want to do that or not?
I will ask you,
It's-
sir,
The BOCC meeting,
The
that's
agenda,
what
we
we
do it here.
So
It's not a problem to have public comment if it's not on the agenda.
okay,
That's
I
totally
just want to
fine.
make sure
It's
because,
not the board
you know.
making a decision or the board
That's
having
right.
a conversation
And,
about something that isn't on the agenda.
if we have a lot of public comment, that is also why these are printed. I had them printed initially because there was not a place on here for public comment.
Oh,
I wanted to make sure they were allowed an opportunity to make that comment and know it was going in the record.
Okay, so
and here's where this needed to be discussed as well. You have, let's say we fill the room with 300 people and 150 people are not Custer County citizens. They are now wasting the money of 150 other Custer County citizens, 5,000 Custer County citizens.
well, we don't have to allow non-citizens to talk.
I don't know. that we can do that.
I think if they're there.
I'm just throwing that
I
out.
don't think
I'm
you,
Proposing.
I'm not sure that's
So
constitutional.
we can
I don't think it
have
is.
them,
Okay.
I believe we can have them state whether they're a citizen or a non-citizen and
Yes, we can.
take that for what it may, weighting the comments of our citizens heavier than that of non-citizens because, but to Lucas's point, if we get a great influx of non-Custer County citizens at this meeting,
I mean, I would like to know what, is it 100, is it 50, is it 25? Is
Well,
it-
that's gonna
I
be.
mean, I'm not gonna know what's online.
Action, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, we can ask when they speak.
We can,
So.
And that's what we should do. And as a matter of fact, we're gonna have this handout. You had the other one. Where's the one that you had the, like the people coming in sign up sheet?
I think it's one of those three. Maybe 3 copies. I need to draft them.
Yeah, it's the third page in there.
Oh, there it is. That's just a sign up sheet.
So, and then
Make sure.
I guess we really need to come up with a number as to how long we will allow public comment to go tonight. If you have 150 people that want to speak,
Couple minutes.
you know, if you go 2 minutes, that's 300 minutes. That's a long time for public comment.
Your math adds up.
And that is, let's see, 300 minutes is 5 hours.
Sounds about right.
I don't think you're gonna get everybody wanting to speak, but you're right, it could be.
You know, there is a potential for, I mean, even giving people basically to stand up there and give their name and then leave the microphone. There's a potential for this to make this meeting go well.
However, you know, we always have the option to cut comments and stop it. You don't have to listen to, you know, you run out of time. That's just the way it is.
So is this, that's back to my question.
So,
You're saying we do not have a 7:30 stop time.
Yeah.
What is our stop time?
We can have a shoot for time. It's up to us, Kevin, and.
Well, and that's
we got
why I'm
people,
asking the
so,
question of us.
Of us, I would say, I'm willing to stay as long as it takes. What do you want to do?
I don't want to be
Give us
here
a
at 12
signal.
o'clock at
I
night.
don't either. So what do you want to do? Pick a time.
Well, you know, it concerned me when we had it posted at a 7:30, but that's what it's posted.
Okay, then what do you want to do?
I'm willing to stick with what you posted. I'm also willing to change, but, what is posted right now is a 7:30 stop time, and that's what I would go with unless we have something else on here.
Where's Lucas?
He's in the restroom, he'll be right back.
I'm willing to go till 9:30 personally. I don't care. But I'll go with what.
And if you are, if that's what you want, we need to make that decision now so that we have that in hand when we start this meeting and we can announce that we have
We
a
could-
stop time of such and such.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm, all right, let's pick a reasonable time, 8:30. So see what
That's
Lucas
a
thinks.
reasonable time. I am perfectly fine with that. We'll let Lucas weigh in on it when he gets back.
And that can be logically, everybody understands if there's a lot of people, not people, if there's not, let's say there's only 100, we can be out of there by 7.
Yeah, but since we have posted a stop time, I think we need to,
I'm not arguing it.
you know, it's just, it's an issue that came up because of this.
We'll take a break while we're waiting for a break. We'll wait for Lucas.
Yeah, we will take a short recess. 11:29.
6:30 to 8:30, right?
And then, Paul, that's where we had the employees meeting, right? Yeah. That's right.
We're still online. I will reconvene our meeting at 11:32. Lucas, when you stepped out, we were in conversation about the stop time for this meeting tonight.
Okay.
Because it was posted with stop time. Commissioner Tranda has proposed an 8:30 stop rather than 7:30. As a reasonable stop time. Are you good with that?
I'm good.
I believe one as well. So I think if we make that announcement at the beginning of the meeting. And so then for my information and for everyone's information tonight, how long are we going to allow each speaker, I guess speaker or public comment to take place? Are we putting a time frame for the speakers?
I'm gonna have a meeting with whoever's here initially to tell them, here's what we're expecting. You gotta put your point across. You're gonna have to make a statement of some kind so that they can get the questions to come. And I'm gonna ask, I'm thinking maybe 10 minutes or so each. There's only 3 of them that I know that's coming.
Oh, for each speaker.
And the speaker, they're gonna have, and if that question involves more time, that's fine. We need to let them go on and drag it on as long as they want to get a clear answer.
So specifically for the speakers, no time frame
No, not
per
that.
se, other than to tell them
Just
we're
an
under time
introduction.
constraints.
Yeah.
What about the public comment or questions?
Well, what
to
I've seen in the
speakers?
past, and you guys have seen it in the big meetings, and where we've had 300 or 400 people coming up in the meeting. Most recently, where were we at?
Well, it's state assembly, I think they
Yes,
were,
like 2 minutes.
or even maybe a minute, but.
2 minutes, a minute is a long time if they're gonna make a comment and ask a question because they can get the question asked.
Pretty typical 2 minutes.
Because we really are trying to draw out information, so it should be questions. They can't get on a long diatribe and that way we
So-
can control them that way.
Rather than public comment, then would we be announcing that there will be an opportunity to ask the speakers questions?
Or maybe it's both, Kevin. Maybe it's, you got a minute to make a comment or a minute to ask a question.
So I'm hearing you propose a 1-minute time limit.
I've seen minutes, but could be 2.
I mean, let's just say that you had 2 hours and you had 4 speakers and each speaker spoke for 15 minutes. That gives the audience 15 minutes to ask questions and for answers to be given. I mean, and that I think typically happens in large groups. And you just limit the amount of time. We have 5 minutes for people to ask questions or 15 minutes. to
Or
ask
15
questions.
seconds for a comment. I mean, they can make a comment or a question, make a quick question.
So what's our
But I would
process?
start with a minute. Or 2 minutes, we can cut it maybe.
Yeah, I just, you just do simple math, 100 people times 2 minutes a question, you're at 200 minutes, you're over 3 hours. I mean, it's pretty simple to,
Let's just say a minute from now. It's good enough.
okay,
They can make a comment.
We could do 1 minute and
3 hours.
depending on the number of speakers we have, make a cutoff time for each speaker?
Yeah, let's
Well, we can
make sure we can get all three speakers in, and then you can have more question and answer time.
That's right, but they're not
Yeah.
gonna spend much time up front. They just gotta set the stage.
Anything else we need to discuss?
I would like to see on the sign up sheet, they got an address, but it takes time to put an address in. I don't mind to put it, but I'd like to see a block that says resident, non-resident, just the check mark,
Oh. You could do that.
just on the sheet.
That's fine.
And we get a name and then, and a low, you know. I don't know that we need would it be better to have a phone number? Or why do we want an address? We want to have.
That was probably more for verifying if they were a resident or
Let's make them
non-resident.
check a resident, non-resident block
That's fine.
and, maybe an email, maybe not.
I'm not,
What, you know, do we want to use this to get in touch with people?
I think this is an attendance role.
You got any other ideas, Mike?
Not currently. I think that, the main objective was to have documentation indicating whether or not they were residents or non-resident or,
I think it's important because we want to know we're hitting that the citizens of the county are participating and they're understanding what the issues are, so we understand how to vote for what they want us to vote for. On not just this, but on in general, I like.
and most BOCC meetings, most meetings period that are governmental meetings. We're probably the only ones that don't do it here. In the state. But everybody signs a sheet and they put down their name, address, whether they want to speak, whether they have something
right.
to bring up. We don't do that. We're probably a little lax in that.
Why don't you put that on there, resident, non-resident, do you want to speak? Make a statement. I've seen that everywhere I've sat in, because of Fremont County Board meetings, I've sat in, Park County, I've sat in several others.
Yeah, and what happens in Fremont is they have little strips of paper if you want to speak and you drop it, submit that to whoever is, you know.
That's what I.
Board, and so the chair
Yeah.
then calls by the order.
And I thought that was what this intent of this other thing was, but it's more cumbersome, that one that says make a public statement. Where did it go? Yeah.
What's that now?
Yeah, and then he said, for the record, when you had, I looked at
Public
that.
comment for the
Yeah,
record.
yeah, I looked at that as that, but it doesn't have to be this big. It's really, do you want to make a comment or not? But if we have it on the sign up sheet, you're a resident or not, do you want to make a comment?
Well, this affords them to have their written comments in it. They may not be afforded an opportunity due to.
That's
the time
right,
constraints
and
to
so.
speak. And because we didn't even have that on the agenda, I had these made up so that they had an opportunity to submit their comments.
I think that's a good idea because we're gonna run out of time and at least they'll have, and I would like to know what their comment is too.
Yes.
Because it gives everybody an opportunity to have an input, so. So maybe we make it one sheet instead of two, then this could be the. No, you have to have a separate sheet. Both of them, yeah. I like what Fremont County does, they have the comment. For, you know, have this separate stack, Mike, if you wanna make a comment, in case you don't get it, make it publicly. You can say,
So are you having Mike do this now again, or is this still falling
well,
under?
he's the guy that did it, I'm just looking at Mike. I thought he wrote, he didn't,
He did that, but he's going to be our taker of the minutes tonight, so.
Well, we'll have Andrew do that.
So that's why I
That's-
asked that question, yeah, and I don't think this needs to go back to Mike because he will not be
No.
afforded that opportunity.
No, I was just saying, it's in order to.
Yeah, to correct any.
Correct the problems, your Mike needs to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's all I would.
To correct.
Yeah, but Andrew can stand there and we'll have the stacks.
The mechanics at the meeting is not for Mike Chesser.
No,
He's gonna be taking.
But we need to have Mike make a bunch of sheets, print them out so people can sign it or not. And Andrew can hand them out and have him make a comment and hand it back to him.
So, and you're proposing a change on the sign-in sheet itself to have name and check boxes for resident, non-resident, and not necessarily an address.
Right.
You good with that? Yeah, fine. Let's make that change.
Put optional phone number.
Rather than name and address on the sign-up sheet, name and a checkbox for resident or non-resident.
Maybe an optional thing that says phone number or address, maybe it's just
And,
the optional.
I believe my preference on the public comment for the record, if they need to check the resident or non-resident box to have that comment entered into the public record.
Right.
If they do not check a box, that comment is not entered into the record. Are you guys good with that?
Well, I don't know, I want to see their comment anyway, Ken.
We'll have the comments to see, but they will not be entered into the public record.
Oh, what does public record mean?
That means they will go on the record for this meeting tonight.
But what does that mean? Does it mean it's in the minutes, or does it mean it's in the
As an
recording?
attachment, I would assume as an attachment to that, because if you put it in the minutes per se, that would be,
Yeah, it would be.
Or just list the people who are there.
okay.
And although on meetings like this, because sometimes I would take a full page, I just keep it with the written document.
For somebody to figure out, Cora, you could say, here's everybody that
Yes,
came.
then they could see, yes.
And you are saying some speakers may come through Zoom. So I'll have to get Jordan, I'll give Jordan, well, Jordan's got that piece of information now, so. Because we'll have to prepare the room for that.
Jordan was coordinating yesterday afternoon.
Okay.
To set up the system.
Okay.
And I'll talk to Jordan and I'll give him we gotta make sure, I don't know, is the Zoom limited in numbers, do you know?
I don't think ours is.
Which is good, I mean, what the state does when they get 1,000 people online, they just have somebody pipe in and say, who are you, where are you? See what else?
I think we'll make an announcement, so I'll make an announcement at the beginning that we will have the speakers. There will be an opportunity to ask them a question before the next speaker. We will limit them to 1 minute with, I guess, depending on the number of speakers, we'll decide how long we need to chop that off for each speaker, time-wise on questions. And then I will make the announcement that we do have the public comments for the record. And the questions, they probably will already know that, but I will make that statement as well.
Then let me make the introduction then to the whole thing. Our expectations, we want to hear from them. That's the whole point. We want to have questions asked. We want to get all, then if you got to make a statement, you can just make a statement or you can ask a question, those kinds of things. No, and I'll read the bio of the 3 people that are doing what they're talking.
Good enough there. Anything else from you?
That's right.
Anything from you, Dan?
Nope.
Okay. Couple of hands raised here. Do we, this was a discussion, it was not an item up for consideration. Are you gentlemen willing to accept comments at this time? It's not normally on this.
We got public comment here in about 2 minutes.
Okay, I'll let them come up at that time then. So is everybody get on this discussion?
Yep.
Yes.
Any additional items of business?
So some things I probably should have mentioned during commissioner items, but I just wanted to go through May's schedule. So the 8th and the 15th are at 9 o'clock, the 22nd. Gonna turn that into a workshop for budget reviews for the first quarter. And I don't know quite what that's gonna look like yet, but we may just go through each department's, each elected official's budget. From a quarterly, here's where we stand, here's what we've gone through.
How many
Here where we're at.
plan on each department, every department?
I don't know yet. May just take the biggest chunks of them and then review internally the small ones. The ones that are under 300,000, we may just review internally. But the big ones, the $600,000 ones, we probably should review in person with the person, so.
Unless there's a reason to.
Right, unless we see some anomalies and they'll be running the numbers here. And we should have those by.
If they're running hot, even if
Yeah.
they're small, we need
Yeah.
to know.
That's exactly right.
So basically 22nd will turn into a workshop rather than a BOCC meeting.
Well, you wanna keep it a meeting, Kevin, so we make it.
It is a workshop there.
But it's really a update. But if we wanna say, go do X, Y, and Z, we wanna have the ability.
And then nothing on that last week because we have CCI.
So on the 27th, right, or the 28th, 27th is Memorial Day. The 28th, our meeting will be at 8 o'clock to approve AP. Before.
That's right, we were gonna do a quick meeting and hit up,
Yeah.
is it Vale?
27th will be at 8 o'clock.
28th.
28.
28th will be at 8 o'clock.
27 is Memorial.
Got that, Jim?
28th at 8.
You can come by yourself on the 27th.
You're not coming.
Or I might be here with you. How's that?
You and Kevin can have the meeting.
Okay, other than that, I just wanted to go through those so that was out there, so.
Okay. Anything else, any other additional items? All right. I take this to public comment. Yes, sir.
John Van Dorn. We'll go back to the meeting for tonight, which is really a child of a Liberty Rocks meeting, and Gideon 300 meeting that was had recently. It's my time, Bill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
One of the things, so this meeting is going to be one-sided. We're going to hear one side of the national debate. Those of your outside speakers, I would have loved to bring in another one or two speakers that could show the other side of that same debate, but this is going to be one-sided. So it's landed and rigged towards a predetermined outcome. But the thing that wasn't discussed today, and I think this is very important, is Gideon 300 promotes the disruption of BOCC meetings by what they call a show of force. I would call that just quiet violence. So what are you doing about security tonight if that happens? If they stand up and demand that you commissioners vote in a particular way?
Okay.
I'm gonna advise the board not to talk about specific security arrangements, except to say that the board is aware of your concerns. And the board is taking measures to ensure that there is adequate security.
But I will not be attending. One, because I don't think, I question the legality of this meeting. And two, I question the safety of anybody attending this meeting. Our sheriff stood up in that Liberty Rocks meeting and said he would not enforce, he would not arrest anybody that disrupted a meeting by a show of force. So I don't know how we can count on deputies or sheriff to really provide security for this meeting if they're already proposing that they agree with the Gideon 300 methods.
Thank you, sir.
Good point.
Ladies first.
Way to go, Jim.
Got two questions for you. When will payroll be outsourced? And when can you provide us with the accounting records for the COVID monies received?
Do you choose to respond or just comment?
So the first one, payroll will be outsourced when our HR director recommends, after reviewing both paychecks, ADP, or whatever other company he's currently trying to schedule time with, along with payroll, or I should say the finance department director gets in there and they make the recommendation to the board that it's a saving to us from both a cost saving standpoint and a personnel standpoint. On the second one, what was your second question again? Sorry.
COVID money.
On the COVID money. So I have sent many people the documentation on the ARPA funds. And LATCF funds, we've spent roughly $75,000 of that, and we are still putting that into a spreadsheet, and I will try to have that by the end of the month. An accounting of where that money is at. Most of that money is sitting in general fund. We are working on putting counts together where that type of money rolls from year to year into in the same account, so it doesn't drop off into the general fund. So where we're at with that.
Mr. Chapman.
Jim Chaplin, comment on the meeting tonight. I'm glad to see it because I've had several people lately say, we wish there was a commissioner meeting at night so we could go. We can't go in the morning and stuff there. So that's a good thing there. And I like the idea of time limit, especially on speakers, because with a topic like it's going to be tonight, I can see how that would go really long. So people definitely need to be limited.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I'll go online here now. We've got three. Mr. Hedberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. Got a couple of things. The first one is you guys have established in this meeting openly right here that tonight's meeting is not legal. So if this meeting is held tonight, I will be contacting my attorney and I will be suing the county for violation of the open meetings laws. So if you're going to call an emergency meeting to ward off pending a lawsuit, after this meeting would be that time. Second of all, people are saying come armed to this thing. The sheriff was given a battle axe to lead against you guys. Nobody that is in their right mind is going to show up to this meeting tonight. There is no security. The sheriff is in on it. You guys are doing it in a rental area where they practiced how to force the commissioners into something at the point of a gun. And you're going to walk right into it. Thirdly, the commissioners, we've established this when this went to a vote a few years ago, literally cannot control what Kelly Camper does with elections. So the whole exercise that Bill Kanda has orchestrated is mute. It doesn't matter. You do not control what Kelly Camper does. She is an elected representative of this county that the people voted for. And then the last thing is if any commissioner honestly thinks that Custer County's elections could be fraudulent, you need to resign on the spot, because that means you were elected in a fraudulent election. Our elections here in Custer County are secure. In Custer County, this isn't about the nation, this isn't about the state. Every candidate that the Sentinel, that the Liberty Rocks people have put forward have won those elections. Donald Trump has won the primary here. Lucas Epp won a recall. Bill Kanda won a recall. Kevin Day won an election. Every candidate at one point that supported all three of you commissioners, their candidates have won. It's an outrage to the people of Custer County to even think about holding this meeting with Joel Altman, who is an extremist and has called for the execution of the governor and the United States president. These aren't experts. They're extremists. And Joe Altman, by the way, is on the losing end, in my opinion, of a libel lawsuit with Dominion voting machines. You cancel this contract with Dominion, they will sue this county in a heartbeat, or even attempt to do it. Because again, only Kelly Camper has control over our elections and she has to follow state laws. So do not let this meeting happen tonight, because you will be violating state law, and it's a complete witch hunt orchestrated like by Bill Kanda. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Gilbert.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Mr. Hedberg. This meeting is illegal. It's a violation of 30-10-304 because the board did not call it. It was called by an individual. It's also a violation of your own code of ethics, in that no one commissioner will try to dominate the board. So not only is Mr. Camden in violation of state law, he's in violation of his own code of ethics. That is shameful. In addition, he doesn't understand what the elections are. He keeps talking about paper ballots. What the hell do you think we vote on? They're all paper ballots. It's all about whether or not the conspiracy theorists and the election deniers are going to get a platform in Custer County to spew their propaganda in a one-sided presentation with no experts on the other side to counter any of the points they make. This is just pure horseshit. And pardon my French. The meeting is illegal. The meeting should not go forward. It is a propaganda event and should be recognized as such. I again will not be attending because I have a bona fide fear of reprisals for my opinions from a group like this that's organizing it. I question as to why you did not publish the names of the experts in the agenda, as that would have given some people time to research and understand where the yahoos are coming from. So this is nonsense. You folks ought to just simply say, I'm sorry, the meeting is illegal. It's not going to be held.
Thank you, sir. Darla.
Thank you, Chairman Day. I would like to join the prior two speakers in saying that what you should have done at your meeting today was to cancel the meeting tonight. It is a staged and orchestrated Kanda Town Hall, nothing more. And it should not be presented as a BOCC meeting. Commissioner Day, I hope that you do not allow Commissioner Kanda to take this meeting away from you. You are the chair, and if it is indeed presented as a BOCC meeting, you need to be the one in charge. You need to establish and announce at the get-go that Robert's rules will be adhered to that night, and that those who are disruptive will be removed. I will not be attending. I had planned to attend to videotape what the hell happens tonight, but the sheer fact that you will not tell us today what kind of security is in place has me out of that equation. And I would no more write my name, address, and phone number down for Gideon 300 to come and attack me than I would, I don't know. I don't even know what to say to what has happened here today. There is no emergency. This meeting should have been canceled. I think you should have no problem finding money in your budget to pay a CPA in your finance department. All you need to do is fire your legal counsel, because you do not listen to them. Mr. Kanda continues to say, I don't have a problem with that. Yes, I agree with that. But da 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 da. When I want to do what I want to do, I do it anyway. So there should be, I feel that only Custer County residents should be allowed to speak. I guess that's illegal. So I will heed that counsel and ask that perhaps you ask that Custer County residents be allowed to speak first before non-Custer County residents. That bill has undoubtedly imported here. And that there should be law enforcement there to remove those who become aggressive, disruptive, or threatening. You have all signed an oath as commissioners, and you are violating that oath. You're violating so many things by allowing this to go forward. We don't know. You've even fiddled with the agenda today. Yeah, you can add public comment, but people saw that there was no public comment prior to this. So they may not attend thinking they're not going to have a vote. I would have loved to have known who's presenting, what their qualifications are, if there are any opposing experts, for example, from the state or from Dominion, which I'm sure there will not be. This is nothing but an SHIT show. And it's a disgrace. Just one more to add to Custer County's disgraces that are allowed at the hands of a very few who do not represent the majority of the people that live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Being the case, our meeting is adjourned at 12:02 PM.